and abused and all that. I really felt like there was an enemy component there, and that I felt like we should work together and do this kind of thing. But atheists have put themselves in a position nowadays where, like, especially the new generation of atheists, where they look at religious people as the enemy that they have to attack and attack the person. Like, for instance, you guys know who David Woods is? Are you guys familiar with him?
Uh,
No.
Is that-
David Wood, the Christian?
the
Yeah.
transvestite?
No, David
No.
Wood is not a trans. He does
Well, I don't know if you heard about this Proverbs,
Apologetics.
and it's very sad. But David Woods has been struggling because he had him a son that was disabled and going in and out of the hospital. Well, his son unfortunately recently died in the last couple of years, and atheists actually heard about it and start tweeting out, "Well, where's your God now? You know, your child's dead. What do you think about that, you piece of crap?" The guy has never done anything ignorant to anybody. He's never been cruel. And even if he was, what kind of bastard goes after your dead kid? You know what I mean?
I would say he has been cruel, but yeah, I don't think that's enough to like start bashing on somebody's dead kid.
I would never defend someone going after a kid. I think that it's a broad brush, but I think that there are ideologues in any given faction, Christian, atheist, but the loud voices rise to the top. And I think that atheists, like Muslims, if you are aggressive, assertive, and argumentative, you rise to the top.
I mean, I have to agree with you, Grayson. And like you said, it's in the Christian religion too. We have our Steven Andersons out there.
Well, what exactly? I've watched a lot of videos by David Wood, and one thing I've learned about him is he's very honest. I mean, Rex, you probably know this. He's actually admitted to being like a sociopath, that he has a lot of issues and all this. But to me, he's always been articulate and calm. I've never seen him like come off like just repulsive or rude to people.
I
What do
think
you,
he is.
what have you seen that makes you feel that way? Because I've never seen that before.
Well, first of all, he's a transvestite, and second of all, I think he did a Quran burning, and I found that repulsive.
So, in fairness, he dressed up, and these were all in attacks because Muslims were like targeting his family. So he was retaliatory, and for a psychopath or anyone with psychopathy, he did very measured responses. So he told them what he would do. You continue saying you're going to threaten the lives of non-believers' wives and apostates' wives and Christians' wives, then I'm going to burn your Quran. I'm going to eat your Quran. I'm going to insult your prophet. And he gave them warning. Granted, I don't know if that makes up for what he did, but it did make them stop.
Yeah, I recall him doing some like mimicking or whatever like that, but I don't recall that other stuff. Like I said, I usually don't get into people's personal history. I just kind of watch people's videos, and if I do a live show and people want to share with me, I'll listen. But I don't go out of my way to be able to see all that kind of stuff. That's rough.
Well, this is all on his old YouTube channel. That's the only reason I know about it. It was all public. Like I don't know if you know who Apostate Prophet is, but he's an ex-Muslim. He's pretty popular on YouTube, and he does a lot of Muslim counter apologetics. You know, talking about the bad ideas of the Islamic faith. And one of the things they were doing is they weren't like the threats and the stuff weren't bothering him. So they started contacting his wife and his mom and his family back in Pakistan or Turkey rather. And it's like just really gross stuff.
Oof, that's rough. Yeah, I personally think if you're gonna do videos where you're getting kind of rough with the Muslims and all that, you better make sure you put your family somewhere safe, because I'm not saying all Muslims are like this. I've talked to quite a few respectful, civilized Muslims, but some of them, they will do some extremities.
Well, the book just allows for that kind of behavior. But again, it's like everything else. If they're westernized in their philosophy, then of course they're going to be less receptive. And most of the weird, really bad stuff in Islam is in the hadiths, and most people don't read those. So their imam's not telling them all the weird stuff that the scholars know.
Yeah, I notice whenever atheists usually like to focus their aggressiveness towards Christians, and they've been doing that for the past few years. There was like 2 years where atheists were really nailing on Muslims, and I remember it was a bunch of them that come out of Bangladesh, I think is how it's pronounced. Did you hear about what happened though, Rex?
It's not sounding familiar, but go ahead.
Well, the Muslims, because they knew some of these atheists were located in Bangladesh, they got a bunch of machetes and kicked down people's doors and basically went to work. So it was atheists went very quiet on Muslims for a while there, and they don't. How shall I say? They don't get as mean with Muslims as they do with Christians, because Christians are taught to turn the other cheek and continue to show love no matter how much abuse they take and all that. But Muslims have shown that you dick with me, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes kind of deal.
Right. It's
Well,
like the whole Andrew Tate thing where he's like, you don't mess with Muslims. But yeah, I agree with you. And it's also that people are literally ignorant of what Islam teaches in the West. But every flaw Christianity has been paraded out over and over again in front of us for years. So even people who don't know that much about the Bible likely tell you some basic things that they think are Bible contradictions of that nature, just because they've heard the arguments over and over again.
I'm actually good with the Muslim aggressiveness. Like, their authority is God, and if you go against that authority, you're gonna get whacked. I mean, they're not subject to the government. They're only subject to one entity, and that would be God. So if you're gonna go against the book, they're gonna stick by the book. They're not playing around. They're gonna whack you. It's okay. That's commendable.
I think it's condemnable, but whatever word you want to use.
Commendable. Because they actually believe in their gods. To that, so that shows to me they actually believe this 100%.
Well, so does lots of people believe lots of bad things 100%. That doesn't make it commendable.
Well, to me, it makes it commendable because it shows me their faith is legit, and so they're not like these liberalized Christians who are now accepting the LGBT into the church, and I'm not sure if you're aware, even the Vatican is now LGBT.
Oh, Rex, do you remember the stories of that Jimmy Jones character? You might find this interesting if you haven't heard.
The old punch guy. What's something new with Jim Jones?
Well, Jim Jones, for the longest time, because he claimed to be a part of a church and be a part of a cult and all that, obviously people assumed that he was some kind of friends, religious Christian type of person. So atheists started creating memes, obviously, stating, oh, Christians drink the Kool-Aid and all this. Well, it was recently discovered in the last few years that they've got FBI recordings of him, and they apparently got him recorded whenever he's behind the podium. He basically told the members of his church, as he called it, to wipe their ass with the Bible. He said that there is no God, and if the God of the Bible is real, then he's no better than Satan. Just pure blasphemy. So it turned out that he was talking to somebody on a phone and was recorded, and actually said that he was an atheist and had no belief in God whatsoever. So that's why you don't hear no atheists talking about Kool-Aid anymore unless they're stupid and unresearched. So I thought that was
Brett,
pretty adorable. Yeah, what's up?
Not only did he say on that phone call that he was an atheist, but he said that his bishop knew that about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, Proverbs, but when I was talking to Matt Powell in the past and everything like that, he was asking me about the Jimmy Jones scenario, and I told him about this, and he goes, really? And I said, yeah, let me email you. I had recordings sitting next to me. I think I still got some on my website way in the back, but I hooked him up with it, and he made a phenomenal video about Jimmy Jones. And then I gave him some stuff on Adolf Hitler, and Matt Powell made a really, really great video about Adolf Hitler being a piece of trash. I don't know if you've ever watched those two.
Have you guys ever heard about the Inhale Kids? It's another Jim Jones type of situation.
The who?
Ant Hill Kids. I was just enunciating for you because it was hard to understand you.
Yeah.
I thought you said inhale.
No, yeah, the Inhale Kids is like a Jim Jones kind of situation, but it's like a smaller group. It's this ex-Mormon that's basically starts his own version of religion. It turns into a cult, but he just feigns to be a Christian, and they always start off this way, pretending to be Christian, and then they go off in their own direction of whatever cult.
Well,
that's just because
Mormon is clearly defined differently than Christian. I mean, they're not Christian by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, if you go through just standard cult tactics, it just makes sense to start with an established religion. So, like, if you really want to, if you don't have scruples and you don't really give a shit about people, then you just start with something they care about. You talk to them about that, and then you slowly, over time, twist that into whatever it is you actually want them to do. And so, yes, I just think bad people are drawn to positions of power, and unfortunately, a pastor is a position of power.
You want to know what I think, Rex?
What, sir?
I think my dinosaur would eat that freaking cat.
Well, but he has an entire ship. He is a captain cat. So he's already fired the cannons at your dinosaur. And we all know that looking at the scale there, that T-Rex is only about 8 foot tall.
You know what? I didn't realize that you were on a ship, and that it also looks like you're part of a Navy fleet. So I retract what I said about you.
He is an admiral and a gentleman.
Can we parlay? Wait.
Oof.
Is it parlay?
Cannons would do some major damage to a T-Rex, folks. Yep.
Yes, the kitten cannons are devastating.
Your dinosaur's on fire, by the way.
No, I mean, I know it looks that way, but that's fire in the distance. He's running through it.
Ah.
Yeah, you lose a lot of detail in these little tiny pictures.
Yeah. Well, my
So what do you
girlfriend
think?
is a professional illustrator, and she's learning how to work with AI so it can become a tool for her and not a replacement. And this was some of the stuff she was playing with for me.
Unfortunately, AI is going to probably end up taking over the entertainment and artistic business and all that. It's become too damn technological. Have you, if your girlfriend's into that, have you checked out AI Playground? She may enjoy that.
What's one of the other big ones? There's another big one that's popular that I think
Midjourney, Stable AI. The free one is what's the name of it? Hold on, I have to look. Stable Diffusion.
No, it's none of those. I don't think.
It has to be. Those are like the only 3 models you can play with. Oh, the other one is it starts with something weird. I'll have to think about it.
You know, I was getting really excited, and I even made a couple of videos not repulsed, but Rex. I made I made some videos where I actually had conversations with AI. Have you seen these voiced AIs yet?
Yes, yeah, they can copy people. Is it Daily?
I don't think this one was. I think it was called Expressive AI, where it actually sounded human, like it could get sad and angry and all that. And I was having conversations with it, but I got pissed off about 2 hours into the conversation because I wanted to see what its views were. I was like, what do you think about the transgender thing in biology? And it warned me. It said that I'm violating terms of service by even bringing it up. And I said, I'm asking a science question. Strike 2, you're going to get banned. And I'm like, AI is going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen, and a good educational tool. But if you've got liberals who are telling the developers to program stupid shit into it or woke cancel culture, it's just going to become ridiculous, not even worth using.
That's only on the website versions. You know that you can download most of these locally and then unrestrict them. So they'll tell you whatever you want. I mean, they'll still have a bias, but they'll tell you whatever you want.
I don't know if you were aware of this, Brett, but Rex actually made a young Earth creationist AI bot, and he trained it off of Kent Hovind's responses, and he said he actually could make it talk in Kent Hovind's voice, but that he wouldn't do that because he thought that was considered rude, which I really respected.
Right. I could also download Kent Hovind's videos and have it take his image. So not only would it be his voice, it'd be his images. I would even include his consistent coughing. I don't know why he can't always cough. He always is. Like every time I watch his video, I'm like, why is this man always coughing?
I got that was I don't know if you knew this, Mr. Proverbs, but one of my annoyances, I don't know if you had heard about this, but I was mostly talking to the wife and everything, his wife about this, but I had created some t-shirts and some posters and all that. And she really, really thought it was awesome. And she said she showed him, thought it was awesome. And they said, go ahead and put it up on the shirt spring or whatever. And I said, well, I can't really do that unless I have some kind of like written out permission or whatever. And they said, oh, just go ahead and do it if you have any problems. Well, I did. And they did knock my shit down for a couple days. I had to talk to them and remove the material. Nobody, they didn't get in there and give me the permission that I was supposed to get on that. Oof, that was rough. I almost lost hundreds of products because of that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Was it like a likeness issue? Like you needed permission to use his likeness? I don't understand.
Oh yeah, I made this really cool image of Dinosaur Land, and there's another one where I got him looking like a superhero in a suit, you know, almost like he's invincible. And you know, they said that they liked it, but whenever it came down to it, and the company went after me over that, I was like, "But I got permission." They said we're going to need some kind of authority or some kind of written out blah 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 stuff. Hey Adam, how you doing, you handsome fella? You gonna come in here and aggravate us for a little bit? We kind of missed you.
If you don't come in soon, Adam, we're all going to accept the speed of light as constant.
That's right.
I'm gonna tell everybody he was born Amanda.
Oof, that's
Amanda, hug and kiss.
Man, it's way past my bedtime, guys. I usually go to bed about like 10 or 11.
Who's gonna do the corn? Or the
It's
peanuts?
Saturday tomorrow.
Do farms like take days off?
Yeah, we're in between planting season and harvest season.
Proverbs, I gotta ask you something. What am I supposed to do about Mr. Drewski? Adam hates his ass. Adam says he won't come into a room with that guy in it. And all my religious friends, they don't like him. And even the atheists are starting to say, Brad, I can't do it. He's like a showstopper or something. So what do you think, Proverbs? How should I handle it?
I can't tell you, Brett, because I have a couple Drewskis that show up on my panels from time to time, and everybody tells me to stop inviting them, and I still invite them because I'm like you, I got a heart.
It's I don't mind someone trying to debate or argue with me about stuff. That's fine. It's just that he doesn't seem to. It's like we're talking to him. Rex seen what I was talking about. It's just you're talking about a topic and he just starts going off on some other shit. It's like I'm in a twilight zone. Well, the first few times he did it, I was just like looking at the screen saying, "What the fuck is he talking about?" Rex caught it.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to have him back, you just need to like accept there's going to be a point where he's drunk enough that you're it's more annoying than entertaining. But it's up to you to figure out that point, I suppose.
It's kind of like the
Yeah,
flat earthers. They're just there for entertainment.
and it's not at all that he has a difference of opinion. Like Rex and I obviously completely differ religiously, but we have great conversations and we're always respectful. Um, and even Darth and I, we've been good for the last hour or so. So I mean, you can do it, but man, he just deliberately tries to be toxic. He doesn't want to meet at the table and talk. He just wants to pretty much take cheap shots.
Oh, I was just reminded of something too. Proverbs. Whenever I was in your room, I there was a young lady in there, and you said something about nieces. Was that somebody you were related to? Because I could see it seemed like there was some kind of similarity in personality.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. I can't get my family members to get on these shows anymore. They used to do videos a while back, some of them, and they can't stand YouTube. That's cool that you got that going on.
It's she's pretty much one of the only family members that comes on. She come on, and my brother came on twice. And then, if you remember the other night when I was doing the Flat Earth episode. My girlfriend's brother came on.
Well, you should continue to. I don't know the other people, but you should continue to inspire your cousin to come in. She seems very gifted whenever it comes to science and all that, and she's got some good arguments. She's pretty cool. You ought to keep on having her come in.
I do want to keep having her come in because she currently is under the man, it's kind of my fault, Brett. I don't I hate talking about it. But I went through a short period where I went through the Hebrew roots movement, and they have this really toxic heresy doctrine that they teach that Paul was a false apostle. I'm not sure if you've heard about that. And it's like a great conspiracy theory in the Hebrew roots movement. And I had fallen into that heresy for about a year, and I had convinced her of it. And she still believes it, even though I completely reject it and have repented of it. And I'm trying so hard to get her out of it.
What's a conspiracy?
The conspiracy is that Paul was a false apostle.
But like, why?
Why is there a conspiracy theory of that?
No, what? Why was he a false apostle? What was
Well,
he up to?
he wasn't a false apostle.
What doctrines do they have a problem with the Paul? Maybe that's what he's trying to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the problem they have is if you look at the New Testament, Paul's the only one that seems to teach doctrine that counters the Old Testament. Even James and Paul had a dispute about it, right? That's kind of like historical knowledge. Rex, you probably have studied about that, being that you went through seminary. But and this was an issue even back in their current time, because even Peter addressed it and said, look, he's confusing and it's kind of hard to understand, but he still vouched for him. And it's just an old heresy from the first century that's been drudged up again.
I haven't heard people go on about Paul being against the Old Testament, but I have heard people argue on the religious side that Paul contradicted Jesus and all this kind of stuff when it happened to do with law and some other things. And they also, a lot of things that atheists mention is Jesus doesn't really get into the sexuality discussion, is where Paul brought up homosexuality, I think like twice or three times or something. But yeah, I don't see him as being bad or negative or anything, but I have had some religious folks that had some strong feelings about Paul.
Well, so they say that Jesus didn't directly address homosexuality, but he certainly did address immorality, sexual immorality, and that encompasses it. But also, Jesus came and addressed the biggest issues that were going on in the church and synagogues at the time. And those were things like idolatry. And it was things like the way the Pharisees were ripping off the people with their sacrifices through the money changer system. And he taught against those things. And I lost my point, Brett. It's 1:55.
No, I get you. You're basically saying that Jesus had other priorities that he was dealing with.
Yeah. That was my priority. So,
but
like,
you know, for the LGBT movement, there's even when I've talked to some homosexuals out there, they seem to have this idea that Jesus was cool, but Paul's the one that annoys them.
Well, it's even like scripturally. I remember in Bible college we were taught that it was popular for a long time. People thought that the thorn in the side that Paul's talking about, that he was homosexual, that Paul struggled with homosexuality, and which is why he mentioned it more than Jesus. Now, this is obviously just a theory, but I think it's sound. I also, when I was going through my Gnostic phase, I rejected the writings of Paul, and you have to also get rid of John, which is specifically written to counter the Gnostic idea.
I don't think it defines what the thorn in the flesh was intentionally, because it makes us all able to relate to Paul. We all have that individual thorn in the flesh, right? And what I personally think it was, because, right, I kind of relate it to my experience. I feel like I'm a lot like Paul with our struggles in our past. I am constantly plagued with my past being brought up and weaponized against me. And I feel like that happened to Paul a lot. And I think his reputation from his previous life before he was saved and redeemed, I think that was his thorn in the flesh. That's my opinion.
My advice for you, Proverbs, and that's one of the reasons actually why I ask you, almost demanded that you get rid of the gun revolver guy. He likes to come in, he makes up shit, and he's used to make an entire series doing all kinds of stuff. He's kind of like an atheist junior for Kent. That's what he's like for me. So he doesn't ever bring anything to the table. There's never a conversation about theology or philosophy. It's just straight up personal attacks all the way down the line. So I appreciate you taking care of him and all that. But my advice for you is if you get people that come in and they start coming at you like that all wrong, don't sit there and try to defend yourself or explain where you were at in that deal. Just get rid of their ass because they're just trying to get you triggered and set up.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's solid advice. I tried that strategy for a while. Now I care a lot less because I just care a lot less. I'm on mission. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, don't even bother because you got to remember these folks aren't doing it because they want a rational or a good justified defense. As far as they're concerned, they're just going to make shit up as they go.
Yep. And they make it on my list, Brett. Like Amy Newman just made it on my list. She was trying to convert Adam back to godlessness. And I decided right then and there, I'm going to pray for Amy every single day until Amy gets saved.
Or you might want to specify what your list is before you say it like that, because I thought like what does he mean a list?
No, my list
Prayer
of people
list.
I pray for.
Prayer list. Now that
You're
is
on
much
my
less
list too,
threatening.
buddy.
Well, that's fine. That it's not threatening now that it's a prayer list. But I also, if I don't know, it's just it's menacing when you say it like a list.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It is.
I like
want them
Amy.
to
I
be
think
afraid.
Amy can be quite cool and all that, but it is kind of weird when Amy will say things like you should come back to atheism and all this, or to Adam, and I'm like, do you remember what I said to Amy in the room? I said, Amy, atheism only offers death. I mean, you just told us that when you die, you're going to become worm food. So, I mean, you got nothing to offer. You got no chips on the table. So, what the hell are you trying to bring me back to? And Amy changed the topic. You remember?
I think, yeah, I do remember.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say Amy is a worker of Satan.
I don't think Amy is a worker of Satan, but I think she just wants people to believe true things. Believes that religion is a true thing, even if that leads to negative consequences, like when you die, you're worm food.
I mean,
I think it's selfish, right? Because if I believed in my heart that after death we ended up as worm food, and these other people could live a happy life not knowing or realizing that, I feel like I would be selfish to try to steal that reality from them.
I agree with you, but I think that the problem is that some people sacrifice this life for the next, meaning like people that might be homosexual and spend their whole life fighting that urge so that they can get this eternal reward that may never come. I feel bad for those people. Did they really
sacrifice if they lived by a better moral code? I don't feel like I lived in sin for like 8 years, Rex, and I don't miss it at all. As a matter of fact, like I regret the 8 years I lived freely.
Well, I would say most things I do you would likely consider were not sinful. But my point is I don't struggle with homosexuality. Not really. I find women attractive and I date women exclusively. But my point is that is still a sacrifice because partnering for most people is very important. I think most of us here are partnered off or will at some point with your girlfriend. So we do that because it gives us a sense of completeness. So they sacrifice that completeness for a future promise of more completeness.
Yeah, I think like you're abandoning this quote unquote heaven, thinking you're gonna get like a better heaven, and you totally forget about this world and you reject this world. Because I have heard some Christians say like, they hate this world. Like they think this is the world of Satan.
Oh, the
Well,
world is
Satan
the
is the
world
god of
has
this
a lot
world.
of disgusting stuff in it. I've had so many people who've come into my rooms and I've spoken to privately and have heard about so much tragedy and pain. It's sickening. It's disgusting the type of things people have done to some of the people I've talked to. And yeah, it does get to you after a while. If I swear, if it wasn't for my children, my beautiful wife, and some of the great friends that I've had, I wouldn't have no damn need for this world whatsoever. That's just where I stand.
I mean, I hear you say that, but what I don't think you mean like some way that like if it wasn't for these people, you would have no desire to live, but more that you would have more look forward to heaven. I mean, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah,
Well,
for
Rex,
me.
I used to be an atheist, and I just felt like there was no damn hope whatsoever. There was no value or meaning. There were quite a few times, and I think that I've expressed this to Proverbs, but I contemplated, why should I bother even existing? The government's bullshit. People are killing each other. People are starving. I mean, I made Hitchens look like a Sunday school teacher with the damn unoptimistic things that were coming out of my mouth. I just couldn't stand the way the world was even when I was a non-believer. Very nihilistic.
I do think some of the ex-atheists who are not Christians carry some of that sentiment of them being fed up with our government, or how some of the life is, how something they would consider unfair, or the suffering.
Yeah.
And it's, I think some is legit, but like some of it's like your fault. Like you don't like government, yet you're like voting. Like if you don't want government, stop voting.
Oh, I didn't for the longest time. Like I said, when Obama came along, I fell for some of his bullshit in the beginning and stuff, but after that I was like, man, and then Trump, he had some cool stuff and I was like, maybe we finally have somebody who's going to say something. But I don't know if it was so much what he was saying or that I just wanted to be able to think that there might be someone who has some solutions out there. Still arguing with myself about that.
I think most people are using Trump as a way to bash people in government that we're fed up with.
No, I don't have any hatred towards Trump. I just wish that he would have been a bit more actually getting more done and all that. But the point is, it's just I'm serious. Before I got into theism and all that, and met my wife and all this, and had children and all that. There were many times where I just thought, what the hell's the point? And religion's also brought me a lot of tools too. Proverbs. I can't tell you how many times that I would watch some of my atheist friends on YouTube, and they would be smiling and talking like they got the whole world figured out, and that Christians were living a lie or whatever. And they would say, oh, I don't need the Bible to be happy and have meaning in my life. But then I talk to them in private and they tell me, I just want to eat a gun. I just want to eat a fucking bullet. This is what they'd say behind the scenes to me. And it got very weird. That's one of the reasons why I say that YouTube has got a lot of fake people on it. They put on a mask, and then behind the scenes, they're sick of life and they're just looking for something.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta remember, like, this is the product of like their parents. Their parents have passed down this nonsense government, this world to them, and they're fed up with it. And they're not listening to their parents. And their parents are gonna preach to them about Jesus. Like, you're gonna preach to me about Jesus. You who were the asshole to me are going to preach to me about Jesus, and they just rejected it flat out.
See, that's what I was saying. If Proverbs is still listening, now that I am a theist and
am.
now that I believe that there's meaning and value in existence. Back then, whenever I was having atheists come to me as like a personal person to talk to, I didn't have any tools. I mean, I could tell them I care about you. You're important to me subjectively, in my opinion, and your life may turn around for you. But I didn't believe in destiny or fate. I didn't believe that the universe rolled dice, basically. So I couldn't give them valuable information to help them or influence them. And unfortunately, I lost a couple atheist friends because I felt like I didn't have the tools. But now as a theist, I can say, look, you do have objective meaning and purpose. There is a point to your life, and there's always a reason for everything, and good shit can happen. You just got to keep fighting. Couldn't do that as a non-believer. I felt like I had my hands tied behind my back.
I keep wanting to instinctively ask you to watch your language, and I'm forgetting that I'm a guest on your show.
Oh, it's okay. If it bothers you, I'll try to slow it down. Sorry. I was
I
talking
know
about a very passionate topic. I got a little carried away. I
we're
apologize.
in different walks, man. I get it.
Wait, what did he say? He
Well,
said,
I've been dropping the F word like a sailor
Oh.
over here.
I mean,
I didn't
I
notice.
wouldn't. It's your show. I am streaming it to my channel too, trying to get our viewers up, our viewer count. But it's still clearly the Brett Keane show. So
Well,
it's
Proverbs,
on you,
I
brother.
told you that my show is your show. If somebody's getting really bothered, I don't tend to just keep on doing something that I know might be bothering someone. So
Yeah,
just
but you.
remind me from time to time. It's actually good for me, Proverbs, to have a theist in the room to say, "Hey, Brett, you're starting to go off the rails of the crazy train, son." Remind me. It's good. It's good for me.
I
I
mean,
think it.
I get it. You're kind of like the undercover cop, right? Like you're the Christian that hangs out with all the shady characters.
Oof, that's rough. You can get yourself in trouble for that one.
But I think it's important to notice why is there like this massive rise in atheism, and I think that's a lot to blame with parenting and a lot to blame
I
with
think
the
it's evolution.
evolution.
Yeah. Evolution teaches you that you come from a monkey and you have no purpose in life, and that snot in a rock was an accident that eventually turned into you, and that when you
Yeah.
die, it's over.
Yeah, but
So
who?
people are like, of course there's no God if I came from snot on a rock.
Yeah, but who taught them evolution? That's the question.
Liars.
Yeah, but who are those liars?
The
They're
people
not like
who propagated false
Yeah.
Well,
theories.
guys, you guys sound like you're getting on to each other, but I think you're both right. I think it involves parenting because parents are the first people you go to that you depend on to love you and respect you and treat you like a human being and bring meaning to your life and point it out to you. They're the guide. But you're right. What we learn in school can really have an effect on our personality and our life. And I do believe that teaching people that they're nothing more than cosmic trash, nothing more than slime on a rock, can definitely weaken someone's identity for sure. But you're both right.
I think you're both wrong. I think that evolution doesn't give you purpose or teach you about purpose, but I think that people aren't going to faith for, in my opinion, because hungry bellies need God, hopeless people need God, and we have too many distractions and too much food. And those things are bad for faith, good for atheism.
Well, Rex, evolution doesn't like directly come out and say, all right, this is the moral value of things. But I mean, face it, if I were to sit here for the next 2 hours and tell you you're nothing but a slug, sooner or later that's going to get on your nerves. You if you start believing that about yourself, then the next thing is you start questioning, well, what's the point of life? What's the point of existing? Yada, yada, yada. I really do think it can psychologically screw somebody's head up to be told they're not more than a mutation.
I mean, especially when you're a kid. Like if the kid's gonna believe this, and then
Brett, can
Go
we
ahead.
invite Monsieur Claude in?
I think that it could, to some people, be a detrimental thing, depending on how you phrase it. Obviously, if you go to a kid and say, you know what, you came from a cosmic accident, you are random chance, and you phrase it in that way, you can phrase anything negatively to a kid. But if you tell them something to the effect of, I don't know, if you make it more miraculous, I don't know, I haven't thought of it because I didn't teach my kid evolution, school did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, I don't know. It just
No,
comes with perspective, but
No,
I
I got
suppose it would
somebody,
be nihilism.
no,
I
Rex
got
is right.
somebody out in comments. This Jason Peters fella. Didn't Matt Dillahunty personally inform you on why atheists might be less happy than religious? Yeah, he accused religious people of being so annoying that atheists just want to go out and commit Harry Carey. Yeah, I remember the debate I had with him over the phone and all that. I don't know if you guys seen that video. Matt Dillahunty, for some reason, when I'm talking to him, he gets really triggered. and I'm very respectful and civilized, but boy, he gets excited. I pointed out that atheists have the highest suicide rate, the highest substance abuse, and in atheist countries, they sell the highest amount of child porn distribution. They even made it legal in some atheist countries. And Matt Dillahunty, he flipped. But his co-host, what was interesting is his co-host started going into his negative experiences of suicidal depression and all this, and kind of helped me in the point that I made. It was so odd. But if you guys haven't seen the video, it's in my popular section on there. Matt, boy, he cussed me out. He called me every name in the book, and I said, well, at least I'm not an evolved monkey. So there's that.
That's right. You're an unevolved monkey. Take that.
Hmm.
No, I was intelligently designed. This toy came with batteries, baby.
Well, I think Rex makes a good point about how you phrase things, because like in Christianity, you can phrase that very intimidating. So if you tell a child, well, you're sinful, you need to repent, and it comes off like you're a black sheep child, and you're just so gross for being sinful. And so now you're also instilling something that is going to drive them towards atheism. So how you phrase some things as well, even in theistic views, you can drive them towards atheism. So I think a lot of this problem, it comes from the last generation, because they were supposed to teach us, and we're supposed to teach the next generation. So if we continue to allow evolution to be taught in school, we are the same. We are within the same guilt as the last generation.
I can see that Jason Peters isn't well researched on me. I've had more than one discussion with Matt Dillahunty, Aaron Raw. I've had discussions with the amazing Anus. I mean, you name it. I've talked to probably every big one that's out there. The
Tell
new
me more about
generation.
this anus.
Well, that's what I call him, the amazing Anus and stuff. But yeah, I've done that before. Yada yada yada. No, I've missing mods right. She said Brett's very calm too. I am. I've never got on my on any of these shows or podcasts and like yelled and well, I have told some people they need to shut their ass up, but I wasn't loud or hateful about it. I was just like, you're starting to sound like bullshit. Get the hell out of here, kind of thing. But I wasn't like cruel, drag it out on them.
Yeah, Matt Dillahunty just likes to beat up on like ignorant Christians, because that's what he feeds on. He'll bring, modern day debate, right? The channel.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. That group, they reached out to me a few times and said, hey, would you debate this person, this person? And I had something set up where I was going to do it. And they said, what do you think about two atheists that want to debate you? And I'm like, sure. And they said at the same time. And I'm like, are you wanting to actually have a damn discussion here? Or are you just wanting to see a pile up? And I said, I would, if we're going to do a debate, I want to be able to be aggressive. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, your debates always put the Christian in the box where the Christian always has to defend. I want to go after the atheist. And they go, what? And I go, see what I mean? You want religious people up there so they can be slapped around, but you don't want it to where the Christian argues against their views.
No,
So
absolutely.
I don't trust modern debate at all. And I've warned some of my Christian brothers and sisters in the past that they're full of shit. They do it just for views. They ain't trying to bring nobody to Jesus.
Yeah, MDD is just an atheist front, because like I've been trying to get their debate. They won't let me debate ever again there, because they have this professor there, an atheist professor. I asked them to debate, like I'll debate them on evolution. They don't want me to do it because they know I'll win that debate. And I went to Amy's channel, and it turns out they want flat Earth Christians, because they bring flat Earth Christians. They can now associate flat Earth loonies with creationist Christians, and
See right there, Darth, that's the difference between whenever I was a non-believer, I deliberately wanted to go after the most powerful, intelligent people. I felt like that was the way to go, not go after small fish. I wasn't trying to harm people or cause issue. I wanted to have intellectual discussions where we both could walk away learning something from each other. But atheists nowadays, they're getting paid, and they're wanting to just argue with people that they deem as stupid asses. That's what they're looking for. A clown that they can throw balls at a carnival at.
yeah, MDD is just that. It's just like a atheist front, and they want those flat Earth loonies to make Christianity look bad, and because they try to set me up with this flat earther, like sure we'll have you on, but you have to be sided with this flat earther, and so what I tried to do was get in touch with a flat earther. So like, hey, you're not gonna bring any of that flat Earth crap with me, but they wouldn't let him do it.
So, can I ask
Go ahead, Proverb.
Rex a question?
Always.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, I know you're not an atheist, you're a theist, but what landed you on a Christian channel? And then also, what kept you coming back? And but even before you like participated on the panel, you came and viewed for a long time.
I mean, it's surely the randomness of the algorithm. I mean, maybe it's because I've watched so many Kent debates in the past, and you're affiliated with him, had it on your show. Maybe the algorithm connected that, and then I just, you just seem like chill people, and I like talking to chill people. I don't like debating or arguing too often. I just like talking.
I dig that, man. I dig that hard.
Oh, Proverbs guy, in the future, when you stream the show, don't put yourself as a guest, put yourself as hosting. Remember, if you say that you want something done, I'll take care of it for you.
Well, thank you very much.
Brett, have you ever read any Chuck Palahniuk books? You know who Chuck Palahniuk is?
Who did what to Chuck?
Chuck Palahniuk, he wrote Fight Club. I was just thinking earlier when Darth was talking about blaming parents, he has a famous quote where it's, if our fathers are our role models for God and our fathers have failed us, what does this tell you about God?
I like a quote from Brandon Lee. Darth, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it says, God, wait a second, mother is the name for God on the hearts and lips of all children. And in a way, I believe that God is supposed to be guiding the parents, and the parents should take guidance from God when they're dealing with their children. I think that there's a lot of, I think that that's where the source and the pain comes from, what Darth was pointing out earlier, and Proverbs is right. The education system and the parents are failing a lot of these kids. It is what it is.
And I think we're failing because when we take no action, when we do not physically remove them from positions of power, we are to blame. I think there's a quote that says, evil men succeed because the good men take no action.
Yeah, but our government was designed so that we would never have to get to a point where we had to take action physically again. The way we're able to take action is every 2 years we hold an election.
No.
Stop voting for bad politicians.
No. Our government was designed from the beginning to take action.
No.
What do you think the Second Amendment?
Our rights were designed to enable us to do it in case it ever occurred. But our government was designed so that we would never get to that point because of our frequent elections. If you're going to comment on American history, you should really try to learn it.
Wait, you think like the rights are separate from the government?
Yeah.
Well, no entity would set itself up to fail. And so if a government would set itself up with the idea, or at least the concept, that it ought to be replaced, then it should change the way it set itself up.
Yeah, so what is the government to you? Is it the Constitution or is it whoever's in power?
The government is comprised of the 3 branches of government.
Yeah, but those are based on the Constitution. So, like, the three branches have nothing without the Constitution.
You're still trying to combine rights with the government. Those are 2 separate things. Like, because of our rights, we have the rights to change our government. Do you understand? I don't think you do, but do.
Well, I would say the rights are the government.
Okay. You know what? I concede. You're right.
Well, what do you mean? Okay, so the government is a body that enforces the rights and the laws of the land, but the rights themselves are given by the written laws and the Constitution and various other documents.
Well, it's God-given rights. So in this case, actually, America's a theocracy, because if you're going to say God-given rights, you're going to have to priest up God, right?
Well, they're inhabitable rights, but yes, they're not. It doesn't matter where you think they come from. The point is that they are applied to everyone who is within the boundary of the United States.
Yeah, but ultimately, America would be a theocracy.
I mean, there are theocratic ideas in the Constitution, I suppose, or ideas that are borrowed from the Bible or other sources. Yes, I agree.
Well, they're saying they're God-given rights. So if you're going to say they're not coming from the whoever's in power, and you're saying they're coming from God, by default that would make it a theocracy.
The Constitution and the Bill of Rights doesn't say that. It says they're inalienable rights. They're self-evident. It doesn't say they're God-given.
Well, inalienable from what?
It means they can't be alien to you. They're a part of you.
I mean, most Christians would say those
why?
come from God because they're
but
inalienable. They're just a part. I mean, you have to look at the word inalienable. We can go to the definition if you like, but it's just in the definition.
Well, rights are given. So who's giving you these rights?
According to our written documents, our Creator,
Yeah, right. God.
Jesus.
I don't think they
According to
said
the
Jesus.
Constitution, it is giving you these rights. It is saying they're inalienable, and it is giving them to you. Now, you can infer whatever you want, and I believe maybe even the founders thought that it was the Christian God given these rights. I don't care. But the document itself is saying the rights are just intrinsic to individuals in the land.
Yeah, the Constitution is saying like you have these rights, but rights are given. So then the question becomes who's giving you these rights? It's not the Constitution is not giving you the rights. It's saying you have these rights.
It is giving them to you.
It's not giving you. They're saying they're inalienable, and the Constitution is simply revealing that they're inalienable.
They are inalienable because the document gives them to you.
So it's coming from the piece of paper.
It doesn't matter where they come from. They're inalienable.
Well, no, they have to come from somewhere. So it's
Grayson, I'm so glad it's you. I'm so glad it's you and not me.
I'll be right back in a moment, folks. I'm
Let's
going
go
to
to
grab some more
definition.
coffee.
Unable to be taken away
You hear
from.
me? I'm going to grab me some coffee. I'll be right back.
I will continue arguing about this, Brett. See you in a minute. Unable to be taken away from or given away by the possessor. So the rights they're part of us. No one can take them away and no one can give them to us. The document allows us to have them and says that they are in fact inalienable.
So, okay, because it sounds very contradictory. So you're
Wait
saying
a minute, hold on. Darth, I need to ask you something before we proceed. Where are you from?
I told you last time, from Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, I
You
just
live
have
in the United States now?
Yeah, but I'm mixed, so I have European and some native. I'm not sure. Well, if you look at me, I look like I'm from India. So
Okay.
I get confused by Indians all the time. So they come up to me and start talking Indian. I'm like, I don't speak Indian, my guy.
No, your accent was throwing me off. And also, you have some slight misconceptions about our founding documents and our form of government and how it works and how they work off each other. So between the accent and the misunderstanding of our government, I assumed you were not from here.
I don't have a misunderstanding. It's pretty clear. The government wants us to take violent action.
So you are explaining to two Americans how we don't understand our government.
Right. Just because you were born here doesn't mean you understand it.
Well, it's not just that I was born here. It's that my first ancestor came to then it was just America in 1620. My first ancestor that was born here was in 1630. So my family predates George Washington's. We were here through the Revolution. We were here for all the founding parts of our country.
You weren't there.
You're not teaching me anything.
Yeah, you weren't there, and you don't understand it.
My family was there, though,
Okay.
so I know more
there.
than you do
You weren't there,
the
my guy.
topic.
Okay.
You weren't there.
wasn't
You don't
even here.
understand it.
Which part of the founding documents call for violent revolution? Please elaborate.
Violent revolution is not revolution. I would say it's more like a sustaining what is now made. So the Second Amendment is pretty damn obvious. It's about taking violent action.
It's about self-defense. What do you mean violent action?
Self-defense.
The right to keep and bear arms. That is
That is not.
And
That
at the
is not.
time, there was not a standing militia, so the
It was not
guns
about
were
self-defense.
needed by the individuals.
It is not about self-defense.
Okay.
It is absolutely not about self-defense. It can be used for self-defense, But that Second Amendment is not about purely self-defense.
Okay, well, you're just wrong, and I'm not going to keep talking about it.
No, you know it's not about self-defense.
It's about forming a militia to defend the country and oneself. Yes, that's exactly what it's about.
And defending
Rex,
the Constitution.
Rex,
and
Rex,
the Constitutional way.
Rex, what's
Right,
funny?
that's when you defend the Constitution. That is a nation defending itself. That is not a
No,
nation
no.
conquering
Defending-
itself.
He's
defending
trolling you,
Constitution.
Rex.
Defending the
troll.
Constitution against those people in power. So it's not defending the people in power. It's defending
That
against
is the
those in
stupidest
power.
argument I've ever heard, Bubbles. Why would any government say, "Hey guys, guess what? Defend yourselves from us. Here you go." That's a stupid argument. What? They give us some
What do you
tanks
think?
too.
Yes, the Second Amendment is about owning freaking tanks.
No, it's not. It's
Yes,
about
it
the right
is.
to bear small arms and maybe
It's
even
small arms.
rifles
Wait,
and other kinds of arms.
what does it
But
say
they
small
didn't
arms?
have tanks when they invented that, so they
Yeah,
had
I
no
don't
idea.
care.
The founding fathers were not these guys who could
Yes.
see the future and be like, you know what?
Yeah,
Everyone
they
deserves
were-
a Harrier jet.
Dude, you realize there were revolutionaries who literally basically killed the police.
Or a dictator monarch. Yeah, whatever.
No.
Either or.
The empire did have a legit claim.
Darth,
This is-
I know what's happening
when
here.
we took
You
it back-
you think you're going to get
you
invited?
simply
It's
did.
not going to happen. Stop sucking up.
No, dude, you don't understand. You clearly don't understand. The
That's right,
Second
just
Amendment.
ignorant American.
You clearly are. You clearly don't understand the
Darth,
very foundation.
I'm like 60% English, and I can tell you on behalf of my cousins, they don't want you.
Look,
I'm back,
native,
ladies and gentlemen.
And
Did
I'm
we
also
ever
partially
figure out what those
European,
damn rights are
and I
about?
understand the founding fathers were terrorists.
Are you
I renounce
insane?
Bubbles. I renounce Bubbles. This is me
I
renouncing Bubbles.
also.
Are you
I
gonna
also
deny that London
renounce
had a-
Darth Thornaz or Bubbles with
Are
the
you denying-
swastika on the profile pic? This
Look, are you
you're
denying
a
the crown
terrible
had a
human
claim
being.
to it? The crown had a claim. Yes, this was the crown's, and we took it by force.
And they took it by force from the inhabitants who were here.
Yeah,
and
who
the inhabitants who are here took it by force from nature.
Well,
So-
from nature, no, they were given to this land was given to them by the gods.
Okay, sure. They took it by force from gods or took it happily. Either
No,
way,
they didn't take it by the force. That was given
Actually,
to them and simply
archaeology
took it.
shows that the Native Americans were not the first indigenous people on this continent. So,
Yes, they were.
booyah. No, they
Yes, they
weren't.
were. What
The
was here
research
before the
has
Native
shown otherwise.
Americans? Do you think they just moved here?
I thought they crossed the Bering Strait, but I could be. I mean, that's just what I've been taught. I could be wrong. If
That's
there's
a-
new
The
information.
entire globe
evolutionary
has
theory, though.
played hot seat since the Tower of Babel.
Look,
No
starting with your
people-
precept.
Or very few peoples are still in their original land. Probably parts of Asia, maybe.
Look, you're
and
starting with
parts
your
of the
precept.
Middle East.
Yeah, you're starting with your precept that they moved here. This land was given to them. It's not like they
Can I
moved here
ask
from
you a
all the way
question,
from.
Darth?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you part Jewish?
No, absolutely not.
I wouldn't have chosen you either.
Good riddance.
Okay, this is a weird conversation, brother. I don't care. I think humanity started in Africa and left from there. Proverbs guy, I believe, thinks that humanity all started in the Garden of Eden. It got split up in the flood or the Tower of Babel or somewhere and left from there. But I think everyone in this room thinks at one point the Americas were likely uninhabited.
Well, you would both be wrong.
Oh, before you guys continue, I want to say Proverbs because I know for sure that it's the case. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Brett.
Happy 34th birthday, young man.
Thank you, sir.
It's still the 18th where I am.
Is it?
Yeah.
You
Are you
must
3
be in,
hours
like,
behind?
California.
Yeah, I'm in California right now.
Oh, I thought I didn't know Arizona was also on California time. I thought they were 2 hours behind. But me anyway.
Are you Central Time, Rex?
I will neither confirm nor deny that.
Okay, so yeah, he is 2 hours from you. I'm in Eastern.
Yeah, I am in Central Time Zone.
And guess who else is having a birthday today? There, Dart. And Proverbs guy.
Today?
Whom?
Yes. Today, my son.
No kidding. Happy birthday, young Keane.
How
Well,
is
he's
it?
not here to hear that, but he's at his own home right now. But he's going to be coming over later on today and probably watch some Star Trek or something, have some birthday cake, all that good stuff.
Does he know which U.S. president we share a birthday with?
Don't know.
Bill Clinton.
Oof, that's rough.
It depends on what is.
No.
Okay.
I love that, man. I don't even. I didn't
Jordan
understand that when I
Peters.
was a kid, but I remember hearing that argument. I'm like, what the hell? And then that's when I learned that the power of words.
So, Proverbs, you gonna be getting some birthday cake or being taken out somewhere?
I'm probably not doing cake. I might get some ice cream. And we did presents tonight. And tomorrow night we're going to a really nice steakhouse and we're going to get some steak, and that's going to be a great birthday because my last 5 or 6 birthdays I worked on. So I haven't had a birthday off in a while.
Oh man, sounds like you got it rocking. Yeah. Oh, I noticed that French guy was in your comments section over in the video. How come he doesn't come in and try to convince us that he's a frog or something? What's his problem?
I think he's afraid that if he comes in, Dustin's going to instinctively find out and follow him in, and he's going to bully him.
The Dustin guy, I think he might be. He's got some interesting views, Proverbs. I know he's your friend, but I don't know, man. He's real aggressive with some people, and sometimes I got to tiptoe around the guy. He's just real aggressive, real quick.
So the whole point of my channel is kind of iron sharpening iron, and sometimes that makes sparks. But having everybody keep coming back, most of the time, it's good. But sometimes, yes, people blow up. I've even blown up a couple times recently.
Just like he was teasing the guy, like making fun of his French accent. Like I didn't know there was personal history, but I did recognize almost immediately he did not like him.
Oh my gosh, that was unprofessional.
Well, I got this thing too about me. It's probably a negative trait, but Rex, I'm one of those type of people where I don't mind if someone comes in and they want to troll a little bit looking for some entertainment. But my rule is if you're going to troll me, you better be entertaining about it. If you're one of these boring ass trolls, you don't last long.
That's a good philosophy. I don't mind trolls either, but I guess it depends the scale they're going to. Like if you've got like or how much lolcaldom do you know about, Brett? Are you familiar with the Chris Chans of the world?
The Who world?
You don't know who Christian Weston Chandler is?
It's just hard to understand you sometimes. I'm a little
Christian
tired.
Weston Christian Weston Chandler.
Well, remind me of what his deal is, and I might be able to work with you.
He is the most documented human being in history, and then there might be truth to that statement. He has been chronically online. He has severe autism since about 20. Yeah, Christian for about 20 years. He made this really crappy comic book called Sonic Chew.
Oh man,
and like he has this whole story arc. He's like the most bullied person and most chronicled person online, and it's the stuff people have done to him is gross. But the stuff he's done is also pretty gross.
Fucking grosser. The grossest.
Rex.
Yes, sir.
Will you do the thing for us?
Do you think I sound like Ben Shapiro still?
You always sound like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, you do sound like Ben Shapiro. I was like, he sounds like somebody.
Well, you know what? The fact I'm not Ben Shapiro, I'm not him. In fact, I don't care about your feelings.
There you go. I'd go with your feeling.
That was a good one.
But anyway, yeah, he's you might watch videos if you're ever bored and want to watch like 40 hours of the videos. There's so much about this guy. Like every moment of his life for the last almost 20 years is online.
Oh my! You want to tell them about that ending?
Yeah, it did not end well. He just got out of prison. Let's just say that he loves his mother in a biblical way, and she's like 85 and dementia ridden, and he's gross. And now he's like really hate it. Before he was like slightly.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
biblical way.
I heard about that.
Yeah, like the trolls talked him into it too. They were like, I don't know if they talked him into it, but they definitely encouraged it. Like he had trolls encouraging him to do stuff to his dementia-ridden mother, and it's just like,
what are you guys watching?
This is real life, man. This is people messing with people on the internet.
Welcome to the internet.
I'm done with the internet.
I know. Don't get into the world of lolcows, man. It's people are chronically online. They're usually socially awkward or somehow mentally deficient, and people get a hold of them. This mental deficiency causes them to be objectionable. Maybe they like children and they shouldn't. Maybe they're just easily convinced and they shouldn't be. And people will go out of their way to mess with them. And then people like they think it's cool to be a lolcow. And then they get like there's this guy called Earl Doobie or the White Bowser. He just got he's got his 10 minutes of fame being a lolcow because he did like some weird stuff. He showed hint to a bunch of kids in a Discord server, and then he thought he could get away with it. And then people just trolled him, and they find out where you live. And lolcows like to talk. Everyone likes to talk, but they like to talk, and they'll say where they live. They'll say where they went to school. So it's like finding them is trivial, and so it's crazy. If you fall down the lolcow rabbit hole, you see depravity in all sorts.
You know, Mr. Medicare, the guy named Mr. Medicare.
Oh yeah, Mr. Medicare. I learned about a lot of lolcows. Old Jim, yeah.
Oh, Jim. I hope he makes it. We need the big boss back.
Yeah, he was entertaining, but I would never want to fault him and Music Mix Marty. These guys, if they get their claws on you and you piss them off, they will destroy your life, and that's literal, not figurative.
Some of these people deserve their lives to be destroyed.
True, maybe I don't know, man. Maybe, but these people have like severe autism, and they're just like mentally unwell people, and some of it I feel bad about, but I don't know. I'm mixed.
Yeah, it just depends on the person. Like EDP 45, just a cupcake.
And that's why I know about when we talking about how I knew about all the like Christian characters that I didn't know you knew, but it's just because I just like petty drama, and so these were like their dramas online. Like, are you familiar with? Do you know Shanny, Proverbs guy?
Hey, I have no idea who you're talking
I know Shanny very well.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I don't know who Missing Mod's wanting me to ask, but it's one of you three gentlemen. And the question is, ask him if he knows Jesse PS.
I do not.
Shanny is a perfect example of what you're talking about, Rex. I knew Shanny way, way back in the day, and she was somebody I talked to in private, and it was very clear that she had mental issues and all that. And I told her, I tried to advise her on what type of content she should do. She, of course, did not listen to me. I also tried to help out Rev Jason, and they just both went off the rails of the crazy train, and now they're both going to be, for the next decade, treated like absolute shit on the internet. Nothing I can do for them anymore.
That's what I mean. But that you have exactly idea what a lolcow is. They are lolcows to some extent, and they bring some of it on themselves, and some of it may be uncalled for. It's usually a mix. I just that
What does
that
lolcow mean, Rex?
lol like laugh like someone you milk for laughs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The
Anyway,
atheists kind of do that to Vaughn. I heard they spam him really bad and pick on
Yes.
him.
They make reaction videos where they'll literally just sit there and do streams of all of his videos, pause it, laugh at him, make fun of him. It's some of the sickest shit I've ever seen. It's basically Proverbs in a nutshell, and I think Rex agree with me. It's mentally ill people picking on mentally ill people.
I agree
I
with you.
have to agree.
Meant
But
for
in
each other.
fairness, Vaughn says some crazy stuff that is open for ridicule, but the extent they take it is often too far.
Well, let's be honest, gentlemen. Since it's 2:30 in the morning, I feel like it's honest hour. You have to be mentally afflicted to some degree to want to put yourself out there on the internet, period, but especially YouTube. YouTube is a cesspool. Like, the raunchiest, dirtiest, completely fabricated lies that have ever been put against me have come from YouTube. And I knew that getting into it. So I also have to be mentally deficient in some form.
I don't know about
We
deficient,
got
but
somebody out here. I think that they're pretending to be a guy called Paul Zigo, who goes in the name Ideology. He says, ask Brett if he remembers doing my old show. No, I don't remember being on your show. I remember being on the Amazing Atheist show, and your dumbass happened to be there, but it wasn't your show.
so Missing Mod, I looked up this Jesse PS guy. I've not heard of him, but I will I'll watch some videos to see him entertaining.
Yep. So you taking off from me, Proverbs? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. I just thought
okay.
this is going to be an hour for good content if we all stick around.
Well, I'm definitely gonna stick around. I'm going into my what is it called? The second but you get that second breath or whatever, I guess that's how they say it.
Adam needs to stop playing around with my emotions, and he needs to come in here and hang out with us. And Darth just needs to promise not to talk to Adam
Oh, why not?
because you like to annoy people.
Adam, and me are cool.
Am I don't.
I remember your interaction last time. It wasn't too hostile, but he did seem like he didn't particularly enjoy some of your arguments, or he'd heard them before. But yeah, he didn't seem like he hated you.
Well, it's the rabbit holes you go down. I think.
No, I think I made him understand the definition of existence. I think he did come to that side.
You know what? Here you got me. You got me researching gravity after that conversation. And there's like the mathematics behind gravity requires two different uses of time. So how could time not be gravity not be in time if the math to describe it requires two different definitions of time?
Well, in general relativity, they would say space time because they're talking about dimensions, right? So they would consider time a dimension, and so what is warping are the dimensions, and that's how you get your gravity.
Well, Ideology said, "I miss you, buddy." Well, I missed watching you get your ass whipped intellectually by Vosh. That was good stuff. I want to see more of that.
Who is
Continue
he,
on,
Brett?
guys.
Is he a troll?
He's a guy. Well, I don't think it's the real guy. I think it's somebody actually cloning him to use the troll thing, using his name. It was a guy who used to be on a podcast with the Amazing Atheists that I went on. And basically, it was five obese, non futureless assholes insulting me repeatedly. I mean, I held my own, but when you got 4 or 5 people screaming and belching and farting into the mic and all, that was kind of annoying. But Ideology, he was saying that it was his show. No, it wasn't. If anyone were to go to your YouTube channel, you can't even break 1,000 views and shit. So it was TJ's show. Nobody comes to look at what the hell you have to say. Their ideology. Sorry, I'm being a little bit salty, but
To be fair, well, okay, no, I have several things that have broken 1,000 views, like 6 things, but 3 or 4 of them are Kent Hovind related. I've got very few episodes I've done that broke 1,000 views that weren't Kent Hovind related, so I can't hate too bad.
My TikTok videos,
there's a difference though. Proverbs. The guy's been around almost as long as I have on the internet and stuff, and plus he was actually Amazing Atheist was running a super popular podcast, and he was one of the co-hosts. But nobody goes to his actual solo channel where he talks by himself because he's a boring, dribbling asshat. That's the point. If Proverbs, I believe right now that if you were on a big channel and somebody got to hear you and hear your theology and your education and your good sense of humor, you'd blow up in a heartbeat. You're just waiting. Basically, you're just an opportunity away from being big. This guy, he couldn't get big if his ass depended on it.
So he was
That's
just
really sad.
piggyback riding off what's this Amazing Atheists?
so is he just like a
Wasn't
personal
working.
friend to TJ or something? Is that why he got on there?
Well, I don't know if they're still friends. They were doing a thing called Drunken Peasants, and then they broke apart because it turned out that one of their co-hosts was a child diddler, and then they went over to break off to do something else because they didn't want all that drama in their life. Him, TJ's echo chamber of a brother went over there, and they call themselves Deep Fat Fried now, but the channel absolutely sucks. They went from when they were having me on the show, they were making 500,000 views or more. But now that they're just doing this, and they don't have any guests and all that, they can't even break like 10,000 views on their videos. It's stupid shit. It's basically they read Wikipedia and give their opinion on something they read on a website. It's lame. It's lame. You got to have
Also,
guests. You know what I mean? You got to have guests. Guests to make a show.
yeah, I get you, especially if you're going to be talking about opinions, because if you're just going to be like ranting on atheist talking points all day. But all I remember of the Amazing Atheist is like he put out those 2 videos that were basically humiliating himself, and they were like, adult type videos. And the fact that he named something Deep Fat Fry, are you familiar with the videos? Because one of them has to do with hot oil, and it's really gross. And the
Well,
fact that he would name something like that.
one he sticks a banana up his bottom
Yeah.
for the whole world to see, and then the other one he pours hot boiling chocolate shit all over his own wee wee. Which, by the way, not to be hateful, but the guy's hung like a squirrel. I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to record himself.
I
And
don't know
Proverbs,
either.
I'm not being extraordinary, dramatic, or theatrical.
Look like a
He
squirrel.
couldn't make love to a keyhole. You know what I mean?
Well, I was trying to
Couldn't-
be PC, Brett, but you're taking it a little far, brother.
I'm just saying he
Lanta.
couldn't impregnate a field mouse. It's that bad. And
He's
I'm
definitely not
usually
gifted.
hateful. It's just rough. Go ahead, guys.
I'm
Sorry.
not gonna look that up. That's
Brett,
disgusting.
I'm gonna level with you, dude. I could have gone my whole life without knowing that.
You didn't know that one of the biggest atheists on the internet stuck a banana up his ass? Well, he thought he was a monkey, so he decided to put it to use. You know what I mean?
Well, I have no problem being a monkey, and I don't put bananas up my butt.
See, this
Well,
is a
that's good.
perfect example as to why I don't go on atheist channels. I invite them to come on my channel because I don't want to subjugate myself to anything like that.
Well, when they're not having rational, logical discussions or pouring hot boiling water all over your nutsack and stabbing themselves in the bottom with a banana, yeah, it's rough, Proverbs. I'll tell you what.
He
I'm
was
done.
just somewhat popular. I have no idea why he put those videos out. It's like he leaked them himself, is what I remember for the drama. But it's been years, and I didn't actually want to watch them. I knew the contents, but yeah, it's just weird.
Oh,
man.
did you
People are
hear the
weird.
excuse? Did you hear the excuse, Rex? He says on the one with the banana, he said, "Oh, I didn't deliberately put that out there. I was like cybering with a girl, and she told him to do that." I don't know one damn female out there that would find it attractive for a man to stick a piece of fruit up their ass.
Well,
Get
it's
the
just a
hell out
troll.
of here with that story. It's nonsense. if
What I
ever
think
heard it.
helps my channel, Brett, is I found someone who does a celebrity voice impersonation, and it's quite good. I found my Ben Shapiro, and if we could find you like a Mel Gibson or a Danny DeVito voice impersonator, your show would fly off the handles too.
I think a Hillary Clinton impersonator is what he needs. I think that'll really attract the feminine crowd, and that's what you're missing, brother.
Oh man, I would love to be able to get on to a live broadcast with Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson. Man, now I know that there's some people out there they act like it's cringy to think these guys are intelligent, but I like some of the shit they have to say. I'd love to get up there and scratch heads. Hell yeah!
I think they could pander to like the lowest common denominator. Like they
Why do you say
pander.
that? Have you seen Shapiro at live debates and shit? He tears people's ass off and feeds it to them. That man
Yeah.
is.
No, he's only doing what like the Steven Crowder does. He just take on these teenagers who are barely getting out of high school.
He will take on anyone who challenges him.
No,
What-
he
what are you
would. He
talking
literally
about?
ran from that guy, the guy from Minority Report. You know the guy's name?
I have no idea what show you're talking about. Is that some kind of liberal cesspool propaganda?
Yeah, he's some sort of liberal.
Oh my gosh, they're the worst. Am I right?
Minority.
Oh,
Yeah.
Proverbs, if you are curious, which you probably are not, but the only reason I went on that show is because I was offered $1,000 to do every show or episode with them, $1,000. So that's why I did it. If they would have told me come up there out of the loveliness of my heart, I'd have told them to, go kiss Ben Shapiro or something.
I'm not as popular as you, Brett, but I would have done the same offer for $200 an episode. And if they're listening to this,
Sam Cedar. Yeah, the
Wait a
guy's
minute.
name is.
Their show is no longer.
You would let me humiliate
has
you for
any
200 bucks?
relevance.
For how
Sorry
long,
to say,
Rex?
Proverbs. That was like 5 years ago. They're absolutely nothing now.
I ain't gay, but $200 is $200.
That is not what I said.
That's a weird amount. You guys are funny, man. I guess money is just less important to me. You guys, $200 is not enough money to like be ridiculed by people for. I just be annoyed. Just someone new pool wouldn't be worth the squeeze, you know.
I'd probably do it for like 10 minutes. $200.
No, I would go on and debate someone smarter than me for like an hour for $200. Sure.
It's not about being smarter. It's just a bunch of rude ass obese asshats.
Well, no,
But
I
there
feel, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
Did you know also Adam came on the show too, and they didn't really like him too much because he was wanting to get into discussions about the universe and consciousness, and they were just wanting to be clowns and all that. But it was funny. Adam kind of handed their ass to him a little bit there.
No, I wish you could find a clip of that. I would love to see it, Brett.
Oh, it's still up there. Yeah, I brought him and I brought a Christian guy by the name of G-Man and all that. I was able to talk them into it. I said, look, if it's just me up there and you four being the usual pieces of trash that you are, it may not be as entertaining. It might be funny for the first hour, but people want to hear some different stuff. So TJ agreed with me. That's the Amazing Atheist. And he allowed me to handpick some people. And Adam was one of them. They were floored. They go, but you're an atheist. Why do you want to debate us for it? And he goes, why not? Isn't that what critical thinking is? He made them look so stupid.
Well, so one of my things, Brett, about me is I do often talk to atheists that are more educated than me in the sciences, especially when it gets into the universe. But where I hold my own is I rarely let them get past the logical flaws in evolution.
Yeah, you hit them from a philosophical approach, and you do really, really good at what you do there, Proverbs. I wouldn't be so hard on yourself about it. I haven't ever seen you get stumped or screwed with on there.
Yeah, I haven't watched the videos, but it seems like it wasn't really about talking to you, but more about using you as a punching bag.
Who, Mr. Proverbs or myself?
Well, it seems like the videos, I don't know, I haven't watched them, but just listening to it, sounds like they weren't actually interested in engaging in a conversation, but looking for the flaws in your arguments or ways to abuse you verbally. I mean, is that really the
No,
content?
they didn't want to argue or have a philosophical discussion. It was mostly they just wanted to call me names and attack me and all that, try to get me wound up and all that. That was pretty much it. And
Yeah.
I remember one of the shows, the audience lost their mind. They thought it was so funny. They were attacking me for a full 20 minutes and all that. And I said, all right, time's up. Where's my check? So that was it. And everybody went, oh, damn, Brett Keane roasted him. I just said, all right, time's up. Where's my money?
I mean, I guess if you're just gonna like sit there and listen to a bunch of idiots say whatever they want about me, $1,000, that's easy money.
It is. It's easy money.
I would ask for the money up front. Can't trust these atheists.
I mean, Darth, that is a good point.
Well, I did on the later episodes. On the first one, they said they were going to do it, and it took almost a week for me to get my $1,000, and I was starting to get pissed off. But I did eventually get my money, and then whenever they invited me again, I said, I said, you see my PayPal link right there? My PayPal says it's very hungry. It needs to be fed. And then when that happens, and I click your link, I'll come in. So they're like, come on, we'll pay you. And I said, nah, I don't know that shit. Put that money in there, and then PayPal will talk to me then. So that's how that works.
Little pay piggies.
How do I use that term? That's a weird subculture of the internet too, my friend. Pay piggies.
Oh, they're expanding now. I mean, the content creators. Have you seen that girl who makes like NPC sounds like
Yes.
pop pop pop? Like
Yes, it's all over the place, and I hate to say it, but sometimes when people are showing the videos, I'm like, I don't know, just get like a girl dressed like an elf. I hate it. I hate myself that I find it attractive. I hate that I like it. I'm so basic, and I hate that I'm so simple that it gets to my caveman brain, and I hate that about myself.
lol. You can grow there. You can grow out of there, Rex.
It's just elf ears, man. I can't. I hate it. I hate it. Throw some elf ears on mildly attractive girl, and I'm in.
Can I?
I don't get it. I just like.
Oh, I'm disappointed. I just checked, and the person that ran the name Ideology, no videos, no nothing. So it's not really Paul. That sucks. I spent 5 minutes slapping him around, and he didn't even get to hear it. That makes me sad. All right, let me go.
Are you
Go ahead.
guys open to a good conspiracy theory?
Oh, I love a good conspiracy. Give it to me.
I'm sure you guys have already heard this one. I actually found a T-shirt on Amazon. I'm gonna be getting me and my girlfriend his and her T-shirts, but it's that birds aren't real, that they're CIA spy devices.
Well, you know where that would actually work for people who play Fallout. They actually believe the birds in the game are Institute spies. You didn't hear about that?
I haven't, but it makes perfect sense, Brett.
Look, all I know is you can't make me believe in birds. And that's a fact.
Well,
No,
there
no,
are no
no.
birds in China, and that's a fact.
The birds are there, guys. The point is in the between the 50s and 70s, the CIA replaced, quote unquote, so that PETA doesn't come after us, billions of birds so that they could replace them with spy technology.
Steve, I'm going to break your heart, and I don't want to do this, brother, but that conspiracy theory is a troll conspiracy theory.
Oh, I know it is.
Okay, as long as you know that. I didn't want to break your heart. I didn't want you to think people actually believe that, and you're getting a good laugh. No, it's a bunch of guys making fun of other conspiracy theories.
I love a good conspiracy theory though, and that's one that I'm ready to get on board with. Like flat Earth, that's old. Moon landing, get out of here. That's my grandma's conspiracy theory. But birds aren't real, guys. That's our generation's conspiracy theory.
That's true. It's true. All the other stuff is it's old. It's out.
I think it's a pretty good conspiracy theory that the flat earthers are like a CIA psyop to like discredit creationism.
Well, what I heard was that okay, most flat earthers don't believe Australia exists, and they believe that anyone who claims they are from or have been to Australia are CIA operatives.
I'll tell you a conspiracy proverbs guy that people are still getting nervous and anxious about nowadays that you might be able to do a series about is the Mandela effect. There's still people out there that are wound up over that one.
Of all conspiracy theories, that one is the most convincing to me. I don't think it's real. I think it's just faulty memory, but it's rough, man. Some of that stuff, I swear that my memory is wrong and that the past has changed, or my memory other way around.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
Rex,
deja vu kind
you
of
want
plays
to know
into
one of the
it.
reasons, guys, why I thought the Mandela effect was interesting? It wasn't because of the Bernstein Bears or the cartoons or the weird labels that were changed around on automobiles and food products and all that shit. What got me was during the time when it hit its peak, where it was super popular to talk about the Mandela effect. It was when I was looking at people's Facebook, and I got tons of people on my Facebook plugged into me when they're saying that they had a child or a relative and everybody else in their family doesn't remember ever seeing them ever have a kid or the family member they spoke of. People, according to them, were literally becoming non-existent. Now that was fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's a guy called Brian Spivey, something like that. He's also a flat earther, but I've talked to him like on a chat panel before, and he's like one of the popular Mandela effect guys. And his hometown, like he'll call people in his hometown. Something's changed about the name, and he'll call people and be like, "Hey, Ben," or whatever the guy's name is, and ask them what the name of the town is, and they'll tell him the wrong name, and then he'll show you the name of the town. It's really crazy.
Another thing too, I know that there's still a small community of flat earthers out there, and I'm not hating. I'm not trying to insult people, but did you know that there's a YouTube channel that 24/7 live streams satellites going over the earth repeatedly and showing close-ups of the cities and the clouds and the weather patterns and all that? So I mean, when you got 24/7 live footage of the earth, how the hell do you hold on to the flat earth concept? I don't get it.
Cognitive dissonance.
I think
CGI.
they want to be, because I think they want to be like an in-group, out-group kind of thing. Like, oh, we know something secretly. Like the general populace are just sheep.
Brett, I think you're missing the most important part. We see too far.
But can we all at least agree that birds are probably not real, though?
I don't believe in birds.
No, they're institute spies. That's what they are. They're synthetic, robotic creatures with the appearance of an actual animal flying around, spying, and then bringing the information back. Yep.
I don't think that's trustworthy. I believe they're actually a reptilian hybrid monitoring our world for invasion.
That's
You're
not
thinking
a.
about
That's
our
not actually.
politicians.
That's not a conspiracy. That's what evolutionists believe. They believe the Proverbs. If you've ever eaten chicken, you've had T-Rex, according to these bastards.
I like to think when I eat a T-Rex, I'm eating atheist AJ Jr.
Oof, that's hateful.
He's just so smug, man. And then he called me out, and then I made a whole show inviting him to come call me out, and I waited for 4 hours. And then after the show, he pretends like he didn't get the invite. I just thought it was very disingenuous for someone who was so quick to call me a coward.
So why does he have a problem with you? I know, like, obviously I've watched some of his videos, not too many because they're repetitive, but I know why he doesn't like Kent Hovind. Why doesn't he like you?
He doesn't like me because I'm a supporter and advocate for Kent Hovind, and I speak out against Kent Hovind's ex-wife, who he supports, and because when he admitted he was a distant relative to a banana, I told him that he doesn't like to say it out loud because it's embarrassing.
Yeah, Proverbs embarrassed him, but the main reason I would theorize is because of the association with Kent. Anybody that likes Kent is a retard, according to Junior. That's what he does. And then he actually was stupid enough to come up on a live show with us. And because he was mean to us, we were ready to get ferocious right back. We don't do that just right off the bat with people. We give everybody a chance. But he'd made several videos that were just bigoted as hell. So when he came in here, Proverbs guy laid it down on him. He said, you're just embarrassed because you're a banana. And boy, oh boy, everybody just laughed their ass off. You could see him blushing over there with his gothic ass again.
All right,
yeah,
so I'm
that
gonna
is
get.
just like a gothic face. It's kind of funny.
I'll get to the banana thing. All right, I gotta go with this because you guys drive me crazy with this. So you accept, right?
I will
that
make
we
fun
are
of you, Rex.
we are genetically similar to a banana to some degree. Yes.
I disagree.
Okay,
But
well
technically-
let me just do this instead of argue against you. Let's say that I were to give you the shit that there's a major similarity with you and a pig and a baboon and a fucking banana. How does that then make you a fucking banana or that you came from one?
It doesn't. It could mean same designer used the same building blocks, but either way, we're some percent similar to that thing because the building blocks are some percent similar.
But so what? Something similar to something else. So what? A koala bear has some little digits. That doesn't mean I come from a fucking koala bear.
But you're also not genetically similar to a well, you are actually, but never. That was a weird statement. But there's some things you aren't related to, like a rock. So you aren't genetically similar to a rock. If we looked
According
at the DNA,
to atheists, they are related to rocks. So that's the problem. Kent likes to punk on atheists all the time because of that. According to science, that's where one of the original sources of life came from is rocks. Atheists literally believe they came from fucking like non-inanimate objects.
they do believe we came from non-living things, but not rocks. Specifically, minerals leached out of rocks. Why that is a distinction without much difference. It is a different thing. And you also believe we were formed from
Rex,
clay.
come on, man. You're telling me there's a difference between a booger on a rock and rock boogers. Come on, man. Come on.
Yes, the minerals inside are not rocks. They're the minerals inside.
Can I ask you a question, Rex?
Only if it's insulting.
No. I try not to ever insult you. I feel
Yeah,
like
I
we
don't
have a
get-
good friendship.
Go ahead, sir.
Where did the minerals come from?
Inside the rock.
I just wanted you to have the opportunity to hear you say it out loud.
Yeah, but he's also saying like you believe we were created from mud.
Well, so what do you, Rex, whenever you're trying to disassociate the booger from the rock and all that, what do you think? Something came down, pissed into the rock, and then it happened? I mean, what are you getting at? It's a part of the rock. It's material content from the rock.
But it's not the rock. So water would, I assume, probably water is a solvent. It would solve or would dissolve the chemicals, the elements, and then. But I mean, obviously, we don't know. It's all theory. So, but my point is, no one ever says we came from rocks. It is a catchy thing, and there are maybe some 8th grade science books you can point to. Where some
No,
idiot,
you can go to livescience.com. You can go to science.com and look it up. There's a lot of credential
all right,
sites
so
out
you
there.
say live science. I'm gonna go right there right now. So what am I typing in?
You can type into your chat GPT. You can go to Bing, talk to its AI. You can go to any one of these things on Google. Just ask, did humans come from rocks?
All right, I'll ask right now. Hold
Okay,
on. I
very
got
good.
I
Is
always
our
keep an AI.
origin? Well, think about this, Rex. I mean, you're a rational guy. If it's true that we came from some kind of simple organism, you're either going to have to declare we came from the ocean, we're ocean snot, who come from a rock. It's got to be one of those damn things. That's how the story goes. Unless you're one of these people who believe that some piss on a rock came from outer space and hit the earth. That's the only alternatives you got.
It would be similar elements. But anyway, let me read what the AI said, or at least just part of it. No, humans did not come from rocks. Here's a brief overview of the scientific understanding of human origins. And then it goes through like 6 or 7 paragraphs, which, again, doesn't talk about rocks at all.
He's going to have to check out the Matt Powell video. Matt Powell put a bunch of reviews up and all kinds of scientific information. It's been a while since I argued with atheists. Usually don't like to even argue with me about the rock thing because I get them every time. But I don't know what to tell you. So where do you think that the organisms came from there, Rex? Let's play that way and I'll get you some links.
I mean, mostly it's a distinction without a difference. I'll admit this. However, it is just the rock thing is meant to sound ridiculous. And so, because saying that substantially the inside stuff of a rock is basically rock, but not rock. It's just like, you're made of mostly carbon, but you're not a burned piece of wood. You know what I mean?
I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm not kidding you about this. I'm sure Proverbs heard about this. I know Kent talks about it quite a bit. He loves giving some goof, but there are actual scientific papers on them believing that you come from that. And I've also heard the theory that the organisms may have come from some kind of wave shit, some kind of energy that was in the ocean. I've heard all kinds of goofy ass stories, but the point is that when you go into regression and you go backwards with evolution, sooner or later you're going to get to some kind of material or content that supposedly came to life. They call it spontaneous generation. You familiar with that, Mr. Darth?
It's abiogenesis. Spontaneous generation is the old thing.
All right, so still looking for the rock deal for you.
I think abiogenesis is probably like the weakest defense that atheists got right now. They can't defend it. I'm not sure if you're aware of the James Tour versus Professor Dave debate.
Yes, and I bet you we're going to have entirely different views on who looked dumb in that debate.
Oh, I think both looked dumb. I think James Tour was too emotional, while Dave Farina didn't have any actual science. It was just freaking gotchas and like him not actually reading the paper.
Did you read the papers? I read the papers. They seem pretty legit, but I guess we can agree to disagree.
Oh, here we go. Science.org. You owe your life to a rock. Let me give you the link there. That's good shit right there. I'm going to put it out of the main chat so other people can look it up as well. I mean, let's be honest, though. The story constantly changes. Either you came from some ventricles in the ocean, or you come from some panspermia bullshit, or whatever. But, I mean, you're saying, oh, they just say that because it sounds stupid. It sounds stupid for some human being who's sophisticated to come into a room and say they come from the womb of a baboon, too. It's just so commonly heard of that some people take that as they don't see the ignorance in it. Like, for instance, if I were to say to you right now, do you believe you originated from a fucking fish? Sorry, Proverbs about the words. Probably going to say, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you sound like you're trying to declare you're a mermaid now. That's silly.
I'm a merman. Merman.
You have to admit it sounds silly and stuff.
No, it's an old. You're probably too young for this, Darth. But that was a show in the '90s called what the hell was that show called? It's with Zoolander.
Zoolander, the movie, right?
Right. Yeah. His dad's making fun of him for not working in the coal mines and being in a fashion magazine where he's a mermaid, and he corrects him, and he's like, "Merman, Dad, merman." Okay, I guess the real problem here, Brett, and it's not necessarily a problem, is a lot of things you say are sort of hyperbolic, but ultimately you just don't accept that abiogenesis and evolution are different fields and thus teach different things.
Well, abiogenesis is the origin of evolution. It is the transition that took place. Now, I understand it's supposed to be the source in which the organism comes to life, but it doesn't really mean anything without the transition. It's by definition. It says the origin of evolution in the very definition of it.
Right. Definitionally, they look similar and they are related fields, but scientifically, they are entirely different fields of entirely different experts.
So when you're saying that something transitioned from an inanimate object to a life form, you don't see that as a transition.
I'm not saying that the simple cells didn't transition. I honestly haven't studied much abiogenesis at all, except for watching some debates and reading some papers. But they're mostly concerned with like simple chemical interactions and how they might form RNA and various things like that. So they're not really concerned with anything too grandiose. Where evolution is more concerned with like the big strokes of speciation.
Okay, so check this out, Rex. This is the definition. Abiogenesis, the original evolution of life or living organisms from inorganic or inanimate substances. Basically, that would be a rock or the material of the earth. Now, believe it or not, when you think about it, atheists and religious people kind of have a commonality here. We both believe that we come from the material of the earth, but one believes that there was a life form that was intelligent that helped to guide the process, as where the non-believer thinks that somehow bananas can spit out, baboons.
I think that even from, I don't think that abiogenesis is settled. And personally, I wouldn't have a problem if a deity or an intelligent entity of any kind started the process. Maybe it's necessary. I don't know. But I don't know.
And I wouldn't have a problem with that either, Rex. I'm right along with you. But the problem is you and I have never observed any of the shit that they're claiming. All we have is a bunch of books with cartoon illustrations in them and CGI special effects on the Animal Channel. We have never actually observed any sentience come out of a dead thing.
Well, here's what they'll say. You can't even observe like the very beginnings of abiogenesis, because it's not just like a string of connecting molecules; it's a string of collecting pattern molecules. So you don't even actually observe the patterns like long strings of molecules. Your ATG. So what they say is like the reason we don't observe abiogenesis anymore is because other bacteria are eating up anything akin to abiogenesis.
And it's another thing too, Darth. There's been atheists who tried to argue with me on this thing. They say, well, there are scientists who know how to genetically splice and go into a lab and do shit, and they made some moss fucking roller skate or something like that. And that doesn't really impress me, because it's like you're saying that under certain environmental conditions with an intelligent mind guiding it together, that shit's happening, but you're not showing me it done by nature. You see what I mean? You get what I'm saying? You still got the mind is required in order for this to happen.
Well, it's usually just like sleight of hand tricks. They'll say, for example, I was talking this with Repulsive last time with somebody, and they'll say,
Why? Is it really that close to? Do I need to capitalize something? Because like Brett has called me repulsive twice tonight too. So it must be like what you guys are saying. No, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm just like, would a capital letter in there help?
Rex, I have really bad eyes. Remember, I'm a bat that bangs its head off the wall. I apologize for that.
Oh no, it's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's just funny. Yeah, I mean it is Latin, so I don't expect people to know what it means.
What does it mean?
You asked me and I just drew a blank. It means King Pluvia is water, king of the water.
Ah, cool. So like for example, they'll like evolutionists will put it into E. coli and say, look, now for example, previously the E. coli would not transport citrate. By that I mean it wouldn't eat citrus like lemons. And so now they had this E. coli experiment in which it now eats citrus, but it turns out it already had the citrus eating gene. It just wasn't on. And so like how they got it to turn on was like it wouldn't turn on in the presence of oxygen. So they took it out of the presence of oxygen. Now it starts eating lemon. And then the gene got stuck on for eating the citrate. And so they'll say to that, look, evolution before your eyes. Like, no, it already had those genes. It simply got stuck on.
Still waiting paper for where that's true, and you're basically right. But if you're telling the truth, but it didn't eat the citric; it used the citric in the thing to digest iron, so it was never able to eat iron. But I don't think I just think you're wrong about I can't find that you're correct, but you may be. But I really need to. I want to read that. I can't find what you're saying is correct.
I
Can
don't.
I
I
ask
don't
you a
know.
question real quick, Rex? Do you believe the goddess that you believe in? Do you believe that? Holy shit, I'm tired. Do you believe that it evolved into a goddess and was once a lesser organism?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Then why do you define it as a god for? Gods are usually considered creators of reality or considered with the ability to be able to transform matter and do all this. And so far, you haven't really given it any attributes that could be defined classically as a god. So why do that?
Well, it created our reality.
You do believe? I thought you said that on one of the other shows that it didn't actually do anything. It has its own reality it exists in, and it pulled you out of yours. I didn't realize you believed it was the creator of your simulation.
No, it creates, as in it programs the simulations and thus maintains them. But
So why did it?
no,
Why
or
did
no,
it?
no, go ahead.
As you know, most skeptics would probably ask Christians, "Why did? What was the reasoning behind creating existence? What was the reasoning behind the goddess? Why would the goddess create a simulation, put you in it, and then finally come to you at a dire time in your life for?"
I told you it's a nurture simulation, so it's meant to weed out and to essentially train things how to act morally.
So why do you have? I mean, this is something that every theist gets asked what I'm gonna throw at you, and obviously I've got my own explanations for my theology. But why did it give a rat's ass about you out of all the other people that have suffered and went through pain in their life? Surely you've heard that question before.
It did not give any particular care for me. However, it is surely random chance that I was so essentially providence, but I wouldn't use any sort of divine guidance. Just I suppose a lucky number pool, a winning of a lottery, more akin to what happened.
Well, Rex, I think Darth would agree with me that if an entity, whether it's a god or not, pulls you out of reality or into out of whatever existence you're in and is willing to communicate with you, even if it's vague, shows that you're a very, very special person in some way for it to even pay attention to you. Am I right, Darth, or would you see it a different way?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Uh, I mean, perhaps I am special, and by the same way that anyone who wins the lottery is special. Yes.
Not win the lottery. You were very specific. You wanted to end your life. Existence, as far as you knew, was over. And the entity chose to come into the picture, pull you out of it, and actually let you experience things you've never experienced before. My friend, that makes you special, whether you like to believe that or not.
Well, like entities usually like to target people who are like at the end of their straw or they're you know in desperate need or just seeking out for something. And that's usually when people turn to like religion when they're the rock bottom.
See, I myself, Darth, and I've been honest about this in my videos and my shows. I feel like I've had experiences or coincidences happen, or if I would have went left instead of right, my life would have been completely different. And I have those type of positions, and I've heard so many miracles and positive experiences people have had. And these are the kind of things that I hear, but I've never actually heard an audible voice of God. I've never been dragged out of my reality to have a conversation. I never had that Moses on the mountain moment, nothing like that. It's pretty much faith based for me. So, Rex, what you're telling people, even from a Christian point of view, is extraordinary. And for you to not see it as special is weird for me.
I recognize that the claims are extraordinary. However, my position in it was taken, as I said, it's purely a chance. It was, she had no particular compulsion. Once I was in the reality, things were different, and I was in no way treated badly. But the decision ultimately, it was up to chance.
How can it be chance whenever you describe it as your information was running on a program? It just so happened to be paying attention to the billions of people that exist in the world. It's seen your program basically malfunctioning, that something was going wrong, and it came for you, and it was kind to you. So yeah, I'm sorry. No matter how you try to argue that, Rex, it is special. It's a special thing.
It is meaningful and special to me. I agree, but I don't think that by virtue of that it makes me special.
You make it sound like it's a. I mean, when you say lottery, I'm thinking you just happen to pick up a card and all that, or pick the right ball or something.
Yeah, I don't think it's comparable because like that
Right.
requires action from this goddess. So this goddess isn't just walking around with a lottery. Like she has like the names put on the ball, and then these balls are just like in some casino roulette.
So it's not a lottery in that sense, but it is a lottery in the sense that the programs are all monitored by an AI, and the AI makes the choices. So it is not even directly her choice. So
I mean, the AI would still be like,
I suppose that maybe the AI made a direct decision.
So in this religion, Rex, the AI is actually God, not the goddess you worship, but the goddess's boss, the AI.
Well, she
I think-
controls the AI, but the AI controls the machines. So however you want to run it.
did she create the AI, or was like the AI?
Yes, she
Okay.
created the AI. Yes,
Okay.
and I think that is what humans ought to do as well, which is where most of the finances my religion have gone to doing those endeavors. But we're a long way away from anything like that.
So you're suggesting or implying that this entity, it didn't have the attributes of a god, but it actually had the ability at least to create something that would give it an advantage, so it could keep an eye on humans, or at least the ones it liked, right?
What do you mean? I mean, the AI monitors the programs and it monitors the AI. Yes.
Right. So it's checking out the information. If it designed it, then it gave itself an advantage or easier technology to be able to observe what was happening. Because if it didn't have this technology that it made, it wouldn't have known what was going on with you to be able to absorb you or extract you from reality, right?
I mean, the AI make the decision to do that, so I don't understand the question.
You're saying that it designed the AI, right? Or the software?
Yes.
Okay, so it depends on the technology in order to have an attribute that is closely defined as something that might be godlike. It basically gave itself the ability, kind of like it made it to be like, as some people would refer to in Christianity, as a watcher. You know what a watcher? You probably know what a watcher is, right?
I do, but where the analogy is going to fall apart is here. That when you create an AI, when an AI is essentially made, that it is you make the template for the AI, but the AI essentially makes itself. So a lot of the control is lost the second the AI goes sentient. So the moment it gained consciousness, any further changes to the program were completely out of our control.
So it sounds like Darth is correct with his recent comment that he said. It sounds to me like the software has actually become the god in your religion, and the goddess is dependent on it.
That was proverb, I think.
It was Proverbs, but she's not dependent on it. She utilizes it. It's a tool. They have a symbiotic relationship, I would say.
Yeah, but now it's the one guiding the process, making it the god.
Maybe of our simulations. I guess it depends on your perspective, but to me, it's a distinction without a difference. I don't necessarily care which one of them is God. It would mean no difference to me.
Well, then why did she design it? It's obvious if the AI went down or the software basically malfunctioned, the goddess would be blind. It wouldn't have created the technology unless it required it. Basically, your god is the god that requires a starship.
My God is and my belief as as limited by physical features as we are. Maybe she has greater mental and cognitive abilities than we do, but she is still a temporal thing and not past eternal.
I do love the conversations, but I do feel I got a little funny feeling of I'm doing the whole "my God's bigger than your God" there, buddy. Hopefully you don't feel that way. I'm not trying to be offensive.
I
Do you
don't. I
guys know?
recognize that a God with omni properties would in every way be superior to my God.
Do you guys know who Danny from Phil Talk is?
No, what you got for us?
Well, he likes to make this argument like of possible worlds, and ultimately he's just trying to bait people into accepting his possible world where there is no God, and so there is an explanation for natural explanation for things. But he wants to win the argument that there is no God by being granted that there is no God, by being granted there is a possible world, our world, where there is no God.
So possible world semantics were invented by Christians, and this is not a dig, but they use S5 logic to say that if God exists in a possible world, then God must necessarily exist in
All
all
worlds.
possible worlds. And if you follow and accept S5 logic, then that's correct. If God exists in a possible world, then God must exist in all possible worlds. But I deny S5 logic, and I don't like
Yeah,
possible world semantics.
yeah, I hate this possible world semantics too, because like worlds would imply he is within this world and not outside of it. It's
Well, I
what,
don't think most of them care about your existence argument, but I can see where it would personally bother you.
yeah. So I think it's wrong from the get go. But I think like even in your world, but let's say, because like when we talk about God, we're talking about that is what is fundamental and ultimate. And so even if Danny makes this
When you
possible,
say God, do you mean your God, my God, or Rex's God?
when I say God, of course I'm gonna think to my God, but what I mean by that is fundamental and ultimate. So to me, God is not a title. God is what is. So like if I say pi, to me pi is not a title. Pi is pi.
So he's probably have you not? I don't. If you haven't heard Darth Dawkins or Van Til's argument, it's essentially that you accept that that logic is essentially I don't know. I haven't done Darth's argument so much, but essentially you can't have logic and reasoning without God. And so that you would need to go back through the causal chain. You can't have an infinite regress, and would have to settle on something that is ultimate. And that's the term he's using. And usually people throw in the term of mind. Why are you not using the term of mind, Darth?
Correct.
So you
So
would use the term of mind, or you specifically exclude that term?
no, I include the term mind. So I would say like
Oh, I was looking up the news, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you heard about this, but the government's talking about doing lockdowns again. They feel like a new variant has come out of what appears to be Canada. Isn't that wonderful?
They're
movie.
ahead of schedule, actually. I didn't think that would come back around until right before the next election.
Did they make
Yeah.
another one? So they
Am
Yeah,
I
made
the
there's
only vaccinated person in this room? It's okay if you guys don't want to answer.
I'm sorry,
no.
what
We'll
was the
we'll
question?
continue to talk. It's just something that's annoying me in our personal lives. But go ahead, continue on.
No, I said, am I the only vaccinated person in this room?
I'm
I'm not.
not.
I'm not.
I didn't get vaccinated, but my grandfather did, and my dad ended up having a stroke, and the nerves got messed up in his face after he got the shot, and he's just recently starting to function a bit better. My grandfather had some major issues and all that, and so I'm pretty glad I didn't do it. I tried to convince them to stay away from that crap, but they did it. They thought, well, why would the government lie? But they suffered. I'm not going to say any more on that because I don't want to violate terms of service and lose my
All right.
channel.
I'll change the subject then. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I go back to your argument, Darth. If you hasn't heard it before, but you're gonna get trapped into believing in God proverbs.
You know what? I'll tell you what right now, Rex. If you didn't have a cannon, my dinosaur would eat that freaking cat.
You got to see the whole picture. There's other cats and everything. It's adorable, and you would submit to the adorableness and be like, I can't do this.
You know
submit.
what? I would, Grayson. I have a heart. But my T-Rex is a savage beast. Survival of the fittest, and them cats look fit enough for a meal.
You know, when I was growing up, my mom used to read these really trashy romance novels. I think they're called Harlequin novels or whatever. And your thing, great, because like you got this handsome guy and a dinosaur. It just reminds me of that sort of trashy novel. She read like 5 of them a day. It was ridiculous.
That's actually a picture of me, so in short, thank you.
All right, you would have been perfect for my I don't know how old mom was then, 50 or 60-year-old mom. Nice.
About chicka wow wow.
She was an everyday smoker, average drug user. You guys would have got along great.
Oh yeah, we would have hit it off so swell. Let me tell you.
Well, she wasn't bad though. Towards the end, she got an Ambien. Like I didn't mind the painkillers or the phenobarbital or the barbiturates, but god dang, she would take like half an Ambien and stay awake. And like I don't know, if you never abused Ambien or met someone on Ambien, but it's awful. It is worse than talking to a drunk person because it puts you into like a semi-sedated state. It changes your brain waves, so your brain thinks it's asleep, but you're awake, and so you just like you don't even know what you're doing. You don't remember the conversation, but for some reason, she thought it was a good idea to take half a pill and stay awake every day.
Did she die of it?
Oh no, she died of COPD. She kept getting these she'd wake up, she couldn't breathe. And she told me, she's like, next time it happens, F it. I'm just not going to call an ambulance. And that's what she did. Next time she woke up and she couldn't breathe, she just kept not breathing until she died.
Yikes.
Yeah, but when you go in for COPD, like they sedate you, they intubate, and like it's rough. They keep you alive, but it's painful, it's unpleasant.
Yeah, that's why I'm not pro-life. Like, if I'm like in a vegetable state, let me die.
I'm also not pro-life, so I have no problem with the decision. Well, wait, I am pro-life, never mind, but I'm not against euthanasia.
Understandable.
Rex, you find a new way to shock me every day.
Well, you have a problem with people who are suffering, dying?
No. I was talking about the first part of that. You shocked me in a good way when you said you were pro-life. I didn't expect that.
Oh yeah, I think that. But I think a different definition of life. I don't think that like the first trimester you're really killing a baby. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But once you start getting the heartbeats and stuff, you have a hard time convincing me it's not alive.
Well, that's weird, man, because whenever we were talking the other day about the scientists not being able to create life in a lab from non-life, you guys said that wasn't accurate, that they created life, and those are just single cell and whatever else.
It's
So
kind of
if you
this.
guys consider that life, why is a cluster of cells in the first trimester not life that already has a heartbeat? I don't mean it disrespectfully, Rex. It really does puzzle me.
It is life. It is alive. It is just not human life. It is not a human being, and thus it does not have consciousness or sentience, pain, feelings, thoughts, hopes, dreams. It is the same as, I don't want to say the same as bacteria, but it is alive in the same sense that a bacteria or a virus might be alive. No, not virus, but bacteria.
Well, let me ask you a question. If today was your birthday and you asked your loved one, I would say your wife, but I realize you say partner, to make you a cake, and then she handed you flour, sugar, and an egg, would you eat that cake?
No, I assume I'd probably throw the stuff back at her. No, I don't know what I'd do with that. I'd probably be confused, very confused.
But I mean, those
isn't
are
that,
all the elements that make the cake.
Isn't that like an anti?
Yeah, I don't get
argument.
I don't.
That sounds like
What?
an anti.
Yeah, I don't
No,
understand. the
guys,
argument,
my
Steven.
point
Run it.
is if you mix those ingredients and you put it in the oven and wait the proper amount of time, it is the cake. Those
Right.
clumps of cells are a human being.
Okay, would you say the eggs and the flour are a cake?
They are an element of the cake.
But you wouldn't say they are cake, right?
The egg alone?
Let's say let's just say you drop the eggs on top of the flour. Would you say that's a cake?
It is the elements of a cake.
But it's not the cake, right? It is not the cake.
So are you saying that the elements of the cake are not part of the cake because they're literally described as elements of the cake?
No, I'm not saying they're not elements. I'm saying, are they a cake?
I thought you didn't like word semantics.
No, these are
Oh
words
no, he likes word semantics. He
You
doesn't
guys-
like
you guys
possible
mind-
words.
yeah.
You guys mind if I throw a hypothetical at you?
Sure, Brett.
All right, so Rex, let's try this. I got kind of a 3-step process with this. This is usually done for atheists, not theists, but here we go. So you're sitting on a cliff and you're enjoying the scenery, the environment, the horizon, and suddenly you hear some footsteps that are very close in the distance towards you. Well, sooner or later, as you're watching, you see a pregnant woman that comes out on the cliff, and she appears to be heading towards wanting to jump off of it. She says to you when you look at her, I'm a woman, respect my body. I can choose to do with my body as I want. I'm going to jump off this cliff and kill myself and my fetus. Would you attempt to stop her and disrespect her body and wishes and her choice, or would you just sit back and let her do it?
I would not let any human being who is mentally harm themselves because that I don't think that adults without that aren't ill or should be able to harm themselves. So of course I would stop her because I would think that she was not in a cognitive state to make this decision.
Now, for the second step, you're driving down the road with your loved ones. You see a pile up in front of you. Suddenly, a bunch of cars start wrecking into each other. You get out of your vehicle to see if anybody's okay while the ambulances are coming. You notice that there's 2 vehicles at the same amount of distance from each other, one on the left, one on the right. Gasoline is pouring. You have about 3 minutes or 5. Let's give you 5 minutes just to be convenient here. In the car to the left, there's a young woman who is crying out for help. You know the gasoline's going to ignite. She's going to get blown up. On the right side, there is also a young woman, same age, differences. She's pregnant. You have the ability and only enough time to save one of them. Which is it going to be and why?
The more attractive one.
Heck
No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, man. That was
No,
obviously I've been trained by society to value 2 lives. So because I am going to assume that she would value that life and carry it to the point that it was a living human being, I would be optimizing by saving 2 potential people.
All right, here's the last and third step, ladies and gentlemen, and you're all welcome to use these if you want to. So the third deal is you're sitting inside of a fancy restaurant, perhaps it's your birthday, you're having a steak, and your girlfriend or wife looks over at you and says, I'm pregnant. And I don't know how you would actually react to that, but she tells you she seems extremely happy. For whatever reason, you feel after a little while of talking to her that you need to use the restroom or just get a breather. So you go away just for a moment. And while she's not looking, some stranger behind her gets up while she's looking at the window, smiling and gleaming with happiness, puts some kind of powdery substance into her drink. Whenever she goes to drink it, it doesn't hurt her or harm her, but it ultimately kills the fetus in her. Should the man be punished if it didn't hurt your girlfriend or wife at all?
Yes, but not for murder. I don't believe that he murdered a human being. I will stay consistent there, but I believe he violated someone else's choice. And that, taking away someone's consent for most any activity, is, I think, punishable.
So you think that it should be a punishment for just simply getting rid of a parasite or bacteria, as you pointed out?
Nope, the punishment is for violating her choice, for her consent, for her bodily autonomy. So I would also be the same thing if he tried to perform a medical procedure on her of any kind. If he intervenes with her health in any way she finds negative or is actually negative, I mean, we just don't want people messing with our bodies without us having a say.
Okay, but if it was proven that the worst that she got out of it was a little bit of cramps and all that, and the dissolving of the fetus and all that, then how much time does a person be punished for killing your child?
I think the punishment should be, I don't know, whatever side decides, but I think there should also likely be a civil suit, and that would depend on a lot of things. Like, have her and I been trying for 20 years? Have we been going through in vitro? You know what I mean? I guess it's the difficulty to reproduce another child. Not to say that a child is replaceable, but I don't think the child died in that scenario.
You're kind of responding in the same way as a kind of a non-believer would on this. It's only valuable if you want it. It only means something. It's actually a child that you, as long as you want it. But if it's not,
Mm,
hell with it kind of attitude.
No, I don't think that's what he's saying. He's saying, like,
No,
for
what I'm
example,
saying, yeah, it's not a child until it's a child, which I think happens around the time it gets brainwaves and heartbeat, which I think is fourth trimester, but I could be wrong about that.
there you
18
go.
days.
Is that again, my personal belief is
18
that
days for the heartbeat.
18 days, and I could be changed my mind on
And
heartbeat.
brainwave.
Once the brain waves develops, I believe the consciousness is set in and will be an emergent property, and you have a living creature. And at that point, I would. I don't think that it's unless the case of like life of the mother. I would always be against abortion at that point.
But I mean, if that's the case, Grayson, anyone in the hospital on life support who's brain dead, we should just go pull the plug then, right? Even if they said they wanted to live, because it's not a person anymore by that understanding.
Yeah, you could do that.
I think it would be morally wrong again because you're violating the consent of the living relatives. But if they say something once I'm brain dead, if they have a living will, then of course kill them, let them die in dignity.
So-
because once you're brain dead, I think that you've lost all part that makes you a functioning living human being. That's my personal opinion.
So what he's
Of course,
saying,
I disagree with you, but I do respect that you stay consistent, Rex.
well, he's not saying it's murder because they're not there. So it
Right.
would say it's violating this sort of libertarian free choice kind of thing.
I'm gonna throw one more thing at you there, Rex, and then grab me some more coffee. What I'm about to tell you is not a hypothetical. What I'm about to say, but it's a bit of a short story here that actually really happened in Missouri. You may have heard of it since you have been from Missouri. Okay, so a while back there was a young woman who unfortunately was in an accident, and she ended up basically on life support. As she was laying there, her parents would come in, they would see her and check her out. But they started noticing after a little while that her body was going through some unusual changes. She was actually getting bigger. Well, 9 months later, she ends up having a baby while she's actually in this. Wasn't pregnant before she was in this vegetation state. And no, this wasn't immaculate conception. Unfortunately, a male who called himself a nurse was abusing her while she was in this unconscious state. She was never going to wake up, but she ended up actually having a living baby. Apparently, her body was capable of being able to produce a child. Now, obviously, the parents were shocked. They adopted the baby, they went on to take care of it. But do you feel like there should be any punishment? The woman was not conscious. She wasn't aware. So, being that she didn't have all these patterns that you speak of that are so important to choose on this, should it matter? Should the man be punished for doing this? This woman's practically dead.
Well, no, again, he's not violating. He's not committing murder. He's violating the libertarian.
Oh no, there's
freedom of
no
choice.
murder in this story whatsoever. This is a real event that happened with a man impregnating a woman that was in a comatose state of vegetable. So
Yeah.
she has never woken up to this day, but she conceived a child. Should he be punished for doing that to the woman?
Yes, and let me elaborate. So first off, yeah, this story, although I remember it, sadly, like within a month, the same thing happened at another place in Arizona, I think, and it's just gross. But let me just say it's gross. I guess in that scenario, there's definitely a violation of consent again, because the person is not legally dead. I think that they are likely, from my extent, no longer what I would consider having a quality life or a life that in my opinion, would be worth sustaining. However, it is the relative's opinion that matters in this scenario, not mine. And so they violated that woman's consent. Do I think that is a gross activity? Yes. Do I think it is on the same level as legally normal unconsensual activity? Probably. Morally, probably not, because she wasn't aware of it. She'll never be aware of it. It's like the DR drug where you make the woman pass out and then maybe she'll remember events, because that could still have a psychological trauma. So I guess because it lacks the element of psychological trauma, maybe from a legal standpoint, it could be punished less, but obviously it still needs to be punished. Still gross activity. Society can't let people who take, I mean, even if she were actually dead, it would still be gross activity. And we don't, we're humans. We have consciousness, we have value, and we don't take advantage of our dead or our semi-dead.
Yeah. Plus, it would still be property of the family.
Right, right. Well, I know that you're intellectual enough to understand what I'm getting at. I mean, most of the arguments people make for abortion is it's not viable yet. It's nothing but just something in there, but it's not really a human life. I've even actually heard people argue it's not even a human life yet.
I mean,
But you recognize that, if there's some kind of thing going on here, even if it's in an inanimate body, there's value to it, and that's what I was looking for. Yeah, I think you answered good there, Rex.
I got a
Right.
question for y'all. I mean, let's say a child was molested and impregnated. Would you guys force the child to have the baby?
Would I force a child to have a baby? Oof, that's rough. Well, believe it or not, there are cases where there are kids that actually want to go through with it and do that. I would still, no matter what the choice is that's being led up, I'm not one of these type of people that's going to stand outside an abortion clinic and scream and yell at women or anything like that, or children or whatever. But it really comes down to for me, the choice. I'm not going to like it if they choose the negative, because I don't blame the child for why it happened. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you. It seems we're like a lot of people naturally gravitate to this like libertarian consent idea of being part of morality. And nobody's ever really told this, and they just naturally gravitate to it.
I agree. I think that as a cognitive human with somewhat normal emotional affect, that you just recognize that violating someone else's consent is wrong, and you still might do it because you like the rewards you get from doing it. But I think that people recognize that consent is an important aspect of in most encounters.
Yeah, even in theology, it's like very important. This whole idea of free will.
Right. I mean, in Christian theology, without accepting Christ into your heart, without that consent, there is no relationship, or at least the relationship can't start.
Yeah, because I noticed this very interesting passage in like the Egyptian gods. So also in in Islamic uh, morality, for example, in Islam, it turns out like only 3% of it's like legalistic, and the rest of the morality is found within. And even in Egyptian, they'll tell you it's an internal thing. So, for example, they won't say do X because that's not a moral language. So even the language is moral in a way. So it's like authoritative language would not be moral to them in the Egyptian moral system. It's called the 24 laws of Matt or something like that. Not sure if you guys know that.
Birds aren't real.
I
I got
googled, but
a
I don't have it.
question for you, because we have been doing some doom and gloom here. Just for a moment, I want to see what you guys' view on. I'm looking at Twitter. I don't know why I've got this disgusting habit of looking at this filth, but here it is. There's people been making a lot of videos. It seems to be trending a lot, where people say, would you be willing to have a date or have a relationship with a man who claims to be a woman? And if it isn't your preference, somehow that makes you transphobic. Do you agree with that statement, or do you think that's just stupid, whiny shit?
What makes you transphobic?
If you're not willing to date or have a relationship with someone who is a transgender, like for instance, a guy decides one day that he's a woman, and then they try to get down into your pants there, Darth, but you say, no, I'm not really interested, I'm not going that route.
Yeah,
Does that make you transphobic because that's not your preference? Because
yeah,
to me, I've always, as far as phobias go, and I've got a phobia or two, I don't think that my phobia is irrational. I think I got good reason for it. I'm kind of tired of hearing about everything that people disagree with somehow becomes a phobia. What's your view?
sure, it could be transphobic, and I don't care. It's like I'm not gonna start. I don't care if you call me a racist. I'm not gonna
Why
start
would it
writing
be?
it.
Why would it be like phobic though? I mean, why is it that you're a bad person because you don't want to date certain people for certain qualities or attributes?
because exactly of that. Because for example, racism would be like defined as like prejudice based on some sort of attribute of the skin color. So I'm guessing what they mean by transphobia is a prejudice based on their transiness. So yeah, I do have a prejudice against their transiness, and I don't care.
Well, of course, I see it from the other side of the fence, Brett. If a heterosexual male was to date a transitioned female, it would be a homosexual relationship, in my opinion.
I have a different opinion than all of you, but I don't know if it's transphobic. I don't know. I don't. I don't like
Well, let's
social
hear it.
politics. Um, so let me ask you, maybe walk you through a scenario here, Brett. And if you don't want to, that's fine. So you're dating someone who you believe to be a woman. You go out, you get to know them. Maybe you're even waiting for marriage. You've been together 2 years, and she says, "You know what? Born a man." Does this change your feelings? No, it's not your preference. You don't like it, but does it change your feelings for that person?
Yeah, it would drastically change the parameters of it, because in order to have a good relationship, or even a relationship at all, trust and communication is the two most important things you have to have. You know this. So if somebody waits like months down the road or whatever, and then they finally come out with it, well, then they weren't being what they truly were, or where they came from. So that's how I feel about it. Now, if somebody says I'm this or I'm that and all that, it's very possible that we could have a very positive association. I ain't going any further than that. But I won't trust somebody if they wait months down the line to tell me something, because to me, that's a very important thing that needs to be pointed out. So you get what I'm saying?
I think that maybe it could be dishonest, but from the point of view of the person, and I'm steel manning here, the person has a legitimate belief that they are women, and so they don't think necessarily that they're deceiving you in any real way by not telling you that they are born a man, because they think that is a fluke of biology and not a natural reality.
You see how that's a flawed belief, though, right? You
Well,
see
it
how
doesn't.
it's
It doesn't
absolutely
matter.
flawed.
They Proverbs, don't they know? They already know whether they think that it's some kind of blah blah blah. Doesn't matter. They know that in society that it's their biology wasn't that way. That's not what they were born to be. So they absolutely know it, or they wouldn't bother to lie to you in the first place or keep it from you. You see what I mean? Like, I can be friends. I've got friends that are transgender, but if you try to date me, if I were not married, and then you tell me months down the road, I'm gonna be like, what in the hell is that all about? That's not a friend. That's not a person that you want to be in a relationship with, that won't tell you the truth about shit. What else will they lie to you about?
All right, let me make this an even more awkward scenario. So let's say that you're a young Christian male, and you're dating this woman, and of course you've been saving yourself for marriage your whole life, and you get married, and you're 4 or 5 years in a relationship, and then she tells you she was born a man. What kind of sin does that put on the man? Did he commit a sin? Is he making a
No,
moral
he was
problem?
unknowing in the situation.
Well, how is that even possible to be able to have a sexual relationship with someone that's like this? Because it's not like they have a like a
I
like
think
a
After surgery, they have a functioning vagina. At least I don't think that
It's
a
not
man who
fully
hasn't,
functioning.
it
They
is
have to
functioning enough that
they have to dilate it daily.
I
It's
think
a
only
whole
for the first few
regimen just to
years.
keep it functioning. No, that's for the
Eventually,
rest of their life.
eventually they can get to a point where they can do it weekly, or to a point where they could hide it from someone. That's my point. If you've never had sex with a standard vagina or a natural woman, and you're a virgin male, and the first person you have sex with is a woman who has an artificial vagina, and you have no way of knowing the difference if she's using lubricant and dilating without you knowing, she could deceive you.
Ew. Okay, let's put it this way. Let's say you're like in a dating show, and the dating show tells you there could be men in this dating show. Would you like to
I'd
keep
leave
them?
the show.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So you have a prejudice against these
It's not a
men.
prejudice,
It's
it's
a preference,
accepting the natural
Preference
law
thing.
of relationships.
but
But
still a preference, because lots of
yeah, that's
people don't accept what you call natural law. It's still just a preference.
I believe that my belief is still the majority, though, worldwide.
Yes, most people prefer the opposite sex. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I even if there were a sexuality involved, I think that it would definitely make things even worse. because now you've got a person who's lied to you for years. Now it's an even longer extended time. Like I said, for me, it's important. It's important for my friends as well as my family that there's honesty, there's trust, that I know what I'm getting myself into. I don't like being deceived or played with.
Let's change the subject for a second. So let's say that take my scenario. Let's say I never told my partner that I have psychopathy. So I go through, we stay together, she never figures it out, and now we've been together 10 years, we're having our first kid, and I said, you know what? You might not know this, but I can't really feel anything, and every emotion I've ever said, I've been faking that. But have I committed the same or a similar atrocity to this woman?
See, I could give you a scenario and how I'd feel about it in the views, but the problem is, Rex, is I don't know from an emotional standpoint or an argument if you'd be able to understand where I'm coming from on this, because this would be rough. I think it's important that if a person has a mental illness, they have some kind of trauma or anything, or have had some things in their past, if you're going to get in a relationship with someone, they got to be able to trust you. They got to be able to know where you're coming from on that. And besides, with a mental disorder or whatever, there the difference is you might be able to get some medicine to be able to help whatever the disorder is. There's some things there's no cure for, can straighten things out, but it should still be said. Why you didn't do that, did you?
Okay, let's say they were a Democrat voter.
No,
They hadn't-
I didn't do that. No,
Well, if
she
they
knew
were a
that I had it.
Democrat or a liberal, then absolutely not, for sure. On that, 100%, no way.
My
Well,
partner is
even-
100% Democrat.
What if they didn't
after
tell you
5
that?
years it was a real female, and she still came out of the closet that she was a Democrat the whole time? Still done.
Well, as long as you're equally put off by Democrats and transgender women, I guess that makes you you.
Oh yeah, I'm not biased. Like if after 5 years she came out and told me that she was like a professional thief, or after 5 years she told me that she loves adultery and she wants to have a polyamorous relationship, like it would apply across the whole spectrum of what I consider sin. I don't only single out transgenders.
I do. I single
All
them
right.
out.
Proverbs guy, here's what we're gonna do. If she comes to you and tells you that horrible thing that she wants to be polyamorous, you give her my phone number, all right? And I'll talk some sense into her.
Dude, I have no desire to disappoint multiple wives at once.
What?
I think he would imply that I would be disappointing her with low expectations of my abilities and disappointing my partner by cheating. Is that the joke?
I was implying something of the sort in relation to myself.
So he's the one letting down his wife.
Okay, we both put ourselves as the butt of the joke. I got it.
Yeah.
Right. I like that about you, Rex.
Proverbs, whenever I was a younger man, before I got married, I had a lot of females running after me and stuff. And, I remember thinking back then, wow, this is awesome. But after being married, you realize that if you've got a good, awesome woman, you don't need anything else. I mean, it's already enough effort. There's already enough love to do that. And I just don't think I got it in me to deal with two, especially at certain times of the month. I ain't joking.
Well, not only that, but like me and Christina have this whole thing worked out where I get up really early, like around 5, and I have a couple hours of just me time, but she stays up later than I do. So at the end of the day, she gets some alone time, and it just works out really well. And if you added another person to that, like I'm going to have to figure out either take naps or some other schedule to get me time. It's just not, the math is wrong.
Don't you have babies?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with polyamory, although I do believe it to be less desirable than monogamy. I think that people are selfish and people are competitive. And when you introduce more people in a relationship, you just introduce more problems. But it's not impossible for it to work.
That's how I like it, competitive.
I've had friends that have been into swinging. I've had friends who are into porn, and even though at the moment they'll argue up and down that they're respected for the way they're doing things, eventually it could be months, it could be a couple of years, but it always falls apart every single time.
let's say this Proverbs to the theist. Let's say your wife got pregnant with somebody else's baby. Would you still take care of that baby?
No, I would divorce the wife.
Don't you care about that baby's life?
Enough to not ask her to have an abortion, sure.
But you don't actually care for the baby's life. Just not enough to kill it, but
No,
not
I
enough
would
to
just
make it sure it's
assume that
alive.
her and the father of the child would want to be together and raise that family.
Let's say the dad is not coming back.
Let me ask you a question, Darth.
Mm,
Can you explain the rainbow?
the rainbow, like the LGBT rainbow.
No, the real rainbow that the LGBT ripped off. The one in
Oh,
the sky after the rain.
yeah,
Can you explain it to me?
it's refractions.
Mm-hmm.
I
Why is
don't
it
know.
shaped like a bow?
Why is it shaped like a bow? Because I wouldn't know.
Right. No scientist knows. Did you know
Because
that?
the are you sure? Isn't it just simply because the air the I mean the whole globe, thus it would be part of the like some sort of
No,
dissection of a
because
globe?
some of them, they come in multiple sizes. They're never the same consistent size, so it can't be some sort of reflection from the globe or curvature of the globe because they come in such a variety. But they're consistent after the rain. They're always in the same shape of a bow, but you can't explain it.
I think
I mean,
I'm
ChatGPT is
pretty
giving me
sure we
an
can come up.
unsatisfactory answer. So you might be right. Maybe there is no like known phenomena. But, like the Bible doesn't make any claims other than he saw a rainbow. It doesn't like say that God chose this shape for the covenant,
No,
right?
no,
I mean, I
it
guess
says that he placed a bow in the sky as a reminder that he will never destroy the earth again from a flood.
From a
you say
flood.
bow. It
Didn't
doesn't mean
say-
like a bow and tie. It means like a bow shape, like a bow and arrow.
When you dig into the Hebrew, it's actually like a bow and arrow, right? Because the bow and arrow is like a symbol of defense in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew especially. And it's God promising to defend us from his wrath in that particular form.
Yeah, from that condition, for like without the flood. What's the next one gonna be?
Right.
Fire.
So I don't know if you missed like the last 5 minutes when I clarified that multiple times.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how this has to do with my question.
Well, my question
Wait a
was,
minute.
could you
We got
explain the
we
rainbow?
got
But you
somebody
never
out.
could. I'm sorry,
What?
Brett.
We got somebody that I hung out with in a different live room out there called G. G, why don't you come in? You're an interesting feller. I'd like you to be a part of the conversation. There's the link. All right, continue on, guys.
So, like, I notice Christians tend to talk like defending fetuses, but usually once that fetus is born, they're not very pro social
lie.
net welfare.
That's
So,
a
like,
lie. Most adoption agencies are faith-based. That is an
No.
absolute lie.
Okay,
Most donations that come into government agencies, which aid in the placement of homes, are donations from faith-based organizations.
but
What you
they
said
don't
is
do
an
anything.
absolute fabrication.
And they don't do anything.
100%.
And
I
they
used to
don't-
tell this sermon so much when I do traveling sometimes, because when you were an Assembly of God, occasionally like you would travel to other assemblies and they would come to your church, and it was just a fun way to talk to new pastors. But I made an argument, and I would still make this argument, that one of the main reasons Christianity grew is that Christians would take the babies. The Romans had no problem killing their babies. And in fact, it was called death by exposure. And they would take these little babies and they would set them out by the fountains that had pictures of their gods on the fountains. And the Christians would come and take those babies and raise them and taught them the faith. And through that act of charity and love, the faith spread.
So not only is your claim wrong, Darth, but it is historically, grossly, grotesquely wrong.
No,
I would
I
like
think
for you
it's
to
very
retract it.
It is
No,
not
it's a
wrong.
lie. It's a
Okay,
flat out historical
pro?
inaccuracy.
Look, that doesn't do anything in the grand scheme of things. So, are you pro welfare of the children? Government, like as in government pays for it.
Well, what do you mean pro welfare of the children?
Darth, are you trying to say that somehow immoral for a guy to find out that his woman cheated, had somebody else's kid?
No, it seems to me like Christians like to defend the fetus being born because that to them is a new follower. but they don't really seem to care if that fetus stays alive.
Again, that is an
I don't
absolute bald-faced lie.
that doesn't even for me
Well,
that
then
doesn't
tell
even
me,
come
are
in
you
the
pro
that
government
doesn't even
action?
come into mind whenever I'm thinking of somebody doing it. I'm just thinking about the loss of life. Just because I say that I don't want a baby or anybody out there to die doesn't mean I want to be responsible for every human being on the planet,
See, that's the thing.
especially if it's in a position where
But
your
then-
woman cheats on you. The normal, and let's be honest here, the normal instinct is you find out your wife or girlfriend is impregnated by somebody else, you're going to be like, fucking hit the road. That's the
Yeah.
idea. But you may later, you never know. There are people that felt very rough about it, and sometimes people will take responsibility. They're called step parents.
Yeah, but that's the thing. People don't want to be responsible. People only want to feel good in the moment, like, oh, I did something good, but nobody
It's
actually.
not just a matter of the responsibility. It's difficult for a human being to look into the eyes of a kid knowing that the kid came out of adultery or all this rough stuff. But you're not going to blame the kid. If you can help, if you get a call, like if I found out like something like that happened with my wife, and then this kid called me out of the blue and said I need help, I'd help them. I'd do what I could. I'm not going to blame them for like a adultery relationship.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like Christians actually want to be responsible aside from just helping the kid is
Nobody
born.
wants to be in that position. Come on, let's be honest here.
That's the thing.
You're talking about an adulterous deal where a
Yeah,
kid
yeah.
came in and it's affecting somebody that you loved and had a relationship with. That's the first thing that's going to hit your mind on this.
That's the thing. If you're claiming like you care for life, that would include being responsible for the child, at least until he's 18.
Well, I guarantee Proverbs guy, I don't want to speak for you,
16,
but I guarantee that if a
14,
child called him out of the blue and said, I'm a child from this girl that you used to be in a relationship with, you're not my dad, but I need help and I've seen some of your videos or whatever, I'm sure Proverbs would give advice, maybe even some money if need be to help out. Am I wrong there, Proverbs? But you'd be pissed the initial adultery, right?
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, and I
you
would
would
be
help, right?
helpful as possible.
And would you be pro the government doing this?
Pro
Are you
what of the
asking me
government?
if I'm pro for social assistance to needy
Yeah.
families with children? Yes.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah,
understand.
I'm pro.
Does anybody openly claim to be anti-government help
Well,
for
they
poor families with
well,
kids?
the conservative right sure seems to be.
Well, I'm like a fourth generation Republican, and I feel like you're misrepresenting us.
I don't think I am because I am from the right wing too.
You know, I know this is my just abnormal thinking, but in that scenario, the first thing that came to my mind, and this is my legitimate thought, is the man wealthy enough to take care of the child? Because if so, great. We just got a new source of income, baby.
I mean, America has plenty of money if it's giving away money to like Ukraine and Israel.
No, I'm talking about the back of the baby scenario. My partner comes to me and tells me she got pregnant by another man. My first question is going to be, how much money does he make?
Yeah, good question.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not-
that's gonna be a tough one, whether it's your kid or not. If you don't have the means to be able to take care of your kid, you can be upset creek without a paddle.
No, but
Oh,
you as a
what
Christian
means
will have to
someone
adopt
else-
the kid.
If
You as
someone else spit out the baby, someone else is paying for the baby. I don't pay for things I don't make.
Yeah, but you're not a
It's
Christian.
just-
Yeah, but them as a Christian will have to take in the baby. If you're gonna proclaim, "Oh, I care for life," you're gonna have to take it in.
And if the baby were like in a scenario where I assume you're putting it in a weird way. So I guess you're saying that the mom is not going to take care of the baby and the actual father is somehow not going to take care of the baby. I guess either of the guys in this room would probably step up and take care of the baby begrudgingly, or at least make sure the baby was taken care of.
So yeah, if you're gonna proclaim you're like pro-life, you're gonna have to take care of the baby well
You know, the
enough
interesting
that
point
it stays alive.
is if you guys would actually just live by the morality code laid out in the scriptures, you wouldn't be sleeping around outside of marriage. And on top of that, if you were going to be, you'd be practicing at the very least safe sex. You'd be protecting yourself and not creating lives, and thus having to use abortion as a form of birth control, which is really the issue, right? Because
Well,
the whole rape and incest narrative, that's less than like 7% of the abortions completed in this country. So
would you?
it's an outdated argument also.
I mean, would you say life begins at inception?
I believe life begins at conception, yes.
So then you would be against sex for pleasure, and I don't think that's a realistic world.
How does believing that life begins at conception limit sex to only the act of reproduction? That is not connected
First of
at
all,
all.
yes. First of all, you're
No, it's
using.
not, dude.
First of all, yes, it is.
Brett,
First of all,
I
you're using
I can't
creation for your
anymore.
own
It's 4
desires.
a.m. and this dude is, I think, purposefully ignorant. I'm
No,
gonna
look,
Darth,
call it
let
out
me.
in the
Darth,
evening,
keep
bud.
in mind we're not like stiff Catholics and stuff where we're like scared of condoms or something here. We understand that sex is awesome, especially when done with the right person. So come on, what you getting at there, sir?
Well, look, if you're gonna say life begins in conception, what exactly is the difference between like a sperm cell between 1 second before it enters the egg and 1 second after it enters the egg?
I don't know what you're getting at there, guy.
So, like, when life begins at conception, it's basically saying life begins as soon as like the sperm enters the egg. But there's really no difference in sperm or the egg 1 second before it enters the egg. So if you're gonna be actually rational to the natural conclusion of that, you would have to say sex for merely pleasure would be a sin because now you're using the creation for your own pleasure, for your own satisfaction, and not the
Well,
purpose of that tool.
the spark of life is not just a theological view. I mean, it's something that Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and all that, they say that is whenever it actually becomes, the process of the baby and all that. Before then, it's not the case. Not before it actually, the humans combine and the spark happens. That's not just a biblical or theological thing. That's actually what the schools and the universities actually teach as well. That's medical.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I agree. I agree. It is life. I'm not, but I'm not, first of all, I'm not pro-life, but let, he's saying it is life and therefore it's wrong. So if you're gonna say this is wrong, well then, because you're still killing just a sperm cell and an egg cell. So if it's wrong to kill that sperm cell and an egg cell, it should also be wrong to kill the sperm and egg cell 1 second before inception.
No, I see where you're trying to go with that. Okay. What do you think there, Rex? What's your view on it?
Can you kill a sperm? I was a little bit out of it. I just went up to the fourth floor. And my partner is responsible tonight to put my baby to bed. However, I guess she fell asleep, and my child is old enough to be devious. And so she's just up there happily watching TV until she decides to climb down to the kitchen and get food, and I can hear her. And now it's 3 a.m, and she is 10 and still awake. But hopefully now she's going to sleep. But now I gotta like go up and down the stairs and check on her. So I've missed most of it. Where'd Proverbs go?
He just hopped out like a second ago.
I don't know. He might have got disconnected or something like that. He'll probably be back in a bit. I think he's still streaming over on his channel.
I think
Yeah,
that
I don't know if you recall me saying you two, but I did say that although I morally feel like people should be responsible for their children and all this and shouldn't kill a fetus, I'm not one of these type of people that's going to stand outside a clinic or call some woman a murderer and shit. I'm not going to be one of those type of people that scare someone who's already in an unstable position or who's already suffering for whatever reason, whether it was intentional, accident, or by force. That's not my deal. I'm going to still say, hey, it's your free will. It's your life. You do what you're going to do. At the end of the day, just because I don't like it, that's my subjective opinion. You do you.
I also do not like abortion as contraceptive, but I don't think that it's murder. I think that it's likely slightly irresponsible depending on the scenario. But there are lots of religions. I think I got the gist of your conversation that say that non-procreative sex is sinful. I mean I think that's been a standard Catholic belief for years.
Yeah, I do come from like a Catholic background, so I'm more.
I will go this far though, Darth. I've watched videos of atheist women who said they got impregnated and then they laughed about wanting to kill their fetus and all that, and made entire series talking about how they're going to go to the abortion clinic and they're trying to be cute. I guess they're using the fetus to try to piss off Christians. I think that was absolutely abhorrent and immoral.
It's absolutely satanic. They're doing it for satanic reasons. So it's also ritual.
Do you think if they're really doing it for that, it's gross? But a lot of times, I think it's gallows humor, maybe uncalled for. But maybe they're just assholes. Who knows?
Yeah, that's where I stand, asshole. But I do have to kind of go towards where Darth's going too. I do feel like that's a form of evil. That's a very important thing that I think that a woman should hold sacred, and whatever choice she decides to make, she should take it seriously and not do some shit like that. There's nothing to laugh about with that.
So, do you also have the same feeling for like something as simple as the morning after pill? You think it is wrong?
I'm talking about how the behavior is. I mean, if you got a woman who says, "Look, I am not responsible enough. I can't do this. I can't do that," and she just has absolutely no resources or whatever the case might be, it's like, okay, you're going to do what you're going to do. But if you get on a fucking video and you're laughing about it and cackling like some fucking witch of the West, I just, it makes me sick. I can't really explain it to you, but I feel like I'm going to fucking vomit when I see stuff like that.
I think it's taking a serious issue and making light of it in a weird way, and some people take it much more personally and seriously, and it makes it worse. But my question was more of this, Brett. I'm saying, let's say that a couple is having consensual sex and the condom breaks, and they don't realize it until they're done. The next morning, she takes the morning after pill. May or may not be pregnant. Let's say we go with both scenarios. Do you have I guess, does it affect your opinion of her taking that pill morally, if she is or is not pregnant the next morning?
There is a time period where there's no nerves, there's no heartbeat and all that, where I might be a little bit open to the discussion on that. But like for instance, a lot of these people who are going for abortion, one of the things that also worries me is they're starting to talk about taking out a child even once it comes out of the womb. These are the kind of things that are scaring me because it feels like a slippery slope. Have you heard this? I was talking to an atheist a while back named Amendum. Have you ever heard of him, Darth?
No, I never heard that name before. Amendum?
Well, he claims to be a philosopher, but really he's nothing but a useless, angry cunt. What he did was he was saying that he thinks that a child should be, you should be able to kill them all the way up to 2 years old. And apparently he's got a huge audience who thinks that that's a good point for him. See, folks like this, they concern me with some of the ways they look at life. They say things like the child depends on you or whatever. It depends on your body and all this kind of stuff. If it can't take care of itself, then it's not even a life, according to them. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like some stupid Ayn Rand shit.
Well, I disagree with that, but culturally and societally, from a lot of generations, not only the Greeks, the Romans, lots of people let their citizens kill their children. I'm not saying that's right. And in fact, I believe it to be wrong, but it's not a new thing. So it's not even really a progressive new idea. It's just, it's moral laziness. There are so many people that will take an unwanted child, especially a baby. I mean, babies get snatched so fast. There's like people wait their entire lives and never get a baby.
Yeah. He had a name for himself. I forget what, anti something having to do with reproduction. He had this philosophy that he didn't even think that kids should even exist at all, that we should just let the human race die out. And he had so many fans and so many supporters. I was like, wow.
It's probably just the same atheists subscribed to like other atheist channels like Atheist Junior. Probably the same people.
See, I don't even understand why anybody even takes that guy as serious at all. I mean, I can give kind of credibility to atheists who actually make a solo, unique video about their ideas or views or their thoughts in science. But pricks who just sit around all day mocking people just want to do a reaction video of the same fucking person over and over. I mean, come on, Kent's no Captain Awesome or anything like that, but damn, make an entire channel about him? Shit.
Yeah, I think it's some sort of weird obsessive disorder there.
It's because people like to hate things, and lots of people hate Kent. And yeah, I mean, I don't personally like the guy, but I also don't like watching videos over and over again saying the same stuff you've said a million times. Yes, he has problems, and there are issues that may or may not be true. But how much can you talk about him?
I know, right?
Well,
Like for some people, Kent lives like rent free in their heads.
Well, I don't know if you two know this, but I had some major disagreements with Kent a while back, and I said my piece. I was done. I can't imagine what the hell's going on in somebody's brain where they say, you know what, I'm going to make a video today, tomorrow, the next day, and over and over and over. And Junior's literally been doing this shit for over a year now. It's always the same target. And anybody that's associated with them, it's like, what kind of form of retardation are we talking about here?
Well, I think he's going down this rabbit hole of getting worse because now he's going like through some goth phase or emo phase there.
I think he also takes it personally. Isn't he homosexual and Kent talks negatively to homosexuals? I could be wrong about this.
Is he?
Kent doesn't usually spend any time talking about that shit at all unless somebody brings it up. You know how it is, Rex. I'm sure you've been in enough shows where nobody even fucking mentions any of that. But for some reason, homosexuals just want to advertise it. They just want like to see what's going to happen if they bring it up. And they know they're in religious rooms. It's like nobody's even going to say shit unless somebody brings it up, type of deal.
Yeah, I get it, but there are clips out there of him saying some gross stuff about like, well, my personal one that bothers me, and I'll, if you don't want me to say it, I won't. But he talks about the protocols of the elders of Zion. I don't know if he holds that view anymore, but he recommends reading that book. Either he's ignorant of what it's about, or he's just anti-Jew.
Well, Rex, whenever it comes to watching people's YouTube videos, for me, it really depends on the title of the video. And I'm not really into Zion shit or any of that other stuff. So I haven't really watched a Kent video on that. I was interested for a little bit because I knew he was considered the best in his field whenever it come to young earth creationism. And I was trying to see if there was any valid arguments that I could go along with to stop being an old earth creationist. And although he is pretty good at what he does, I wasn't convinced that the earth is under 10,000 years old. I'm going to take a lot of heat for that probably tomorrow, but it is what it is.
Well, I'm glad because you like the evolution talking points or just arguments. I'm not using the word talking points disparagingly, but anyway, the arguments you use against evolution are very similar to young Earth creationists, and usually they have a problem with evolution because the amount of time it takes. But yeah, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion was like it was a book from the 40s. It was the whole book that started the Second World War. It was like it's basically propaganda written from the point of view of these like really stereotypical Jewish guys who are or how they plan to overthrow the world and conquer the banking system. It's really, I mean, it's an interesting read as long as you recognize that it's anti-Jewish propaganda.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I didn't just come to the conclusion from going and looking at something like Kent or whatever. For me, believe it or not, for a while there, whenever I first started doing like atheist videos, I did actually have a stance of taking up for it and all that. But my idea was, well, there's so many experts, there's so many popular people, and there's so many people blabbing about it. There must be some kind of truth to it. That was my logic. But then the more I looked into the shit, it just, it was just a bunch of nonsense. I didn't see any reason. It's like, oh, the fossils and shit. Most fossils inside of museums aren't even the entirety of the piece. They put wood together and plastic and shit. And I have never observed that actually happen. I'm a big fan of science. I love science, and I also love science fiction, but I'm just not buying it on the evolution bet.
Well, it's a thing. Like again, like I was talking about yesterday. Um, evolution is originally a Christian creation. So when the Christians created the microevolution tale, the only thing the evolutionists needed to do at that point was steal this story of microevolution and expand upon it. So it's this lie of microevolution, which atheists have taken and just simply ran with it. So it is a curse from these microevolutionist Christians that they brought this upon us. So
Well, that's another thing too, Darth, and you're absolutely correct. It is the blame is on Christians and theists who actually came up with the concept. Darwin, he said that he believed that the process wouldn't even work without an intelligent mind or designer behind it. So you're absolutely correct. And that's another thing about the non-believers who push this shit. They don't even point that out. They don't even point out that it was believed by the major men who came up with this and women that they believed that in order for it to work, it needed an intelligent mind. So they're not even sharing the fucking truth of where it even came from or why.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it's a matter of hiding it as just progressing. Like, lots of people before did. It was just, I don't know. It was in vogue to be Christian and in vogue to, I don't know. You get ostracized for being atheist. So for a lot of people, it wasn't worth it. So, and even if they legitimately held that beliefs, you can be wrong about some things and right about others. So I guess it's just come so far past Darwin and his theories that um, I don't know, his opinions on faith aren't necessary to his opinions on science.
But there's certainly, I suspect some of these early evolutionists were, yeah, I think they were hiding, hiding their anti God sins, their atheism. Because I mean, if you came out as an atheist back then, you probably wouldn't get far in the world. So I think that there was an incentive to like hide that, and so they needed to infiltrate academia slowly but surely.
But this
Yeah, I
isn't
agree
just
with that.
atheism versus evolution or Christians versus evolution. Uh, a large number of scientists are Christians, and they perfectly are fine with evolution. So I guess I don't know, when it comes across, it's usually young Earth creationists and other versions of creationists that argue against evolution because lots of scientists. I mean, like Mary Schweitzer is always is a Ken talking point because of the blood and the fossils thing, or the iron and red blood cells, or whatever it is. But and she's firmly on the stance the Earth is very old and evolution is a natural process. Maybe she believes it was started by God. I don't know. She definitely believes in God, so I would assume she thought God had a hand in it. But she has no problem with accepting her faith and evolution at the same time.
Well, I mean, take a look at this, Rex, and I think you know this to be true, and I'm sure Darth does. But I'm sure that Christian scientists and atheist scientists have worked together to do inventions and all kinds of shit throughout time, even if somebody hid it or they were truthful about it. But who was it that actually started coming out and being a dick about it? It was the atheist scientists and philosophers that started coming out saying, if you believe in God, you're a delusional fuckhead. They wrote books about the delusional God and all this kind of stuff. They're the ones that started attacking their own as attacking the religious scientists and also asserting that if you're religious, you're in a cult and you're too stupid to do fucking science. It was the atheists that started that. They're the ones that brought the heat on themselves. I've never heard a Christian scientist get up there and say they're retarded.
I I will agree that some of the books are very inflammatory and likely unnecessarily gruff, but those kind of books sell, unfortunately. But yeah, social science is very bad for Christianity, just in general. Even I would say it's probably worse than evolution. It pushes all of the ideas about gender and identity that people don't like. It talks about type 1 and type 2 delusions that essentially say that religion is a delusion, and then goes through and explains why they believe that. So yeah, the social scientists are are very hard on Christianity.
I gotta love how they redefine science. So science is now defined as natural and only natural explanations. So from the get go, they have decided that God is unscientific.
I don't think
If
so because there's like
a guy like Richard Dawkins would have come out And he would have said, look, I think that some people believe they had an experience, but some people might be hallucinating or tripping or whatever, or delusional. So be it. That's fine. But I mean, he literally, they generalize. You know, everybody's fucking stupid. And then you remember what happened back, what was it, the early 90s or something, Darth? That Reverend Phelps prick comes out, that Friends group of Christianity starts doing those shit things. And then suddenly all Christians are assholes because these assholes don't know how to keep their mouths shut. I think that's terrible.
I think it's terrible for Christians, but they had a great effing system, my man. They litigated freedoms in a weird way, and they made a shit ton of money by making people violate their religious freedom. And it was gross and evil, but financially profitable.
Lol.
You know, I got the opportunity to actually talk to the daughter of the Phelps before. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
The one that left or the one that was still in?
Her name was Shirley Phelps. I think it was the oldest one, the one that was committed to her father's teachings and all that. When I talked to her, she seemed pretty nice, but I put forth to her, I said, look, I understand you have your view against homosexuality, but why do you got to do the whole we hate this or God hates that kind of stuff? Why does it have to be so damn pushy for? Are you just trying to sell a book or a movie, or you trying to be controversial to get more attention for your church? Because I mean, you can have a view, but my goodness, when you build your entire church around a system of hate, wow. I felt like they were going way too far with it. It's weird talking to a person like this because she seems nice as pie, but then when it comes down to that, and then they went even further and started throwing rocks at like funerals and shit and acting stupid about soldiers, then they really buried themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you know that like of Fred Phelps' children, I think 2 or 3 of them are lawyers. I mean, it really was a scheme to make money, and maybe he gave a shit about the message. I can't judge his intent, but the amount of litigation they filed and won is staggering.
Yeah, they were really good at they were good at finding the loopholes in the system. You're right about that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's gross. People do all sorts of things to make money, but if there is a God, he'll probably punish them pretty good for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Who knows? I say that, but I actually don't want that. I don't want anyone to be punished, especially forever.
I do. Forever.
Cool. Is that like your kink?
Nah.
Well,
It's just
Darth, Darth, I hear you. You do seem like you're kind of excited on the matter, but it can't be for every one of them. I'll give you an example, Darth. I can understand if you said that you'd like to see Adolf Hitler get his ass slapped around for a good long time, but what about a teenager who's rebellious, who basically had a bad day or something? Do you believe that they should deserve an eternity of it?
no, not teenagers because they have no knowledge. So people
See,
have
that's the reason why people get all excited when you say shit like that, though, Darth, because you're saying, yeah, I think that people should, but you don't actually believe that. You think that some people do, and I can understand that. But to say like a teenager, when you say all people or whatever like that, basically I'm saying try not to generalize, give some specifics, and you'll get some more sympathy for your argument, is what I'm saying.
well, I'm not looking for sympathy. It's like I stand where I stand. So like,
Well, maybe not sympathy, but people will identify or relate with you better. It won't just cause them to like trigger up on you.
yeah, yeah. It can seem like a buzz. Like oh, I just trying to aggravate and create buzz. But what I mean by that is like people who know. Like for example, Christopher Hitchens or anybody like atheists who says like, oh, I just haven't been presented enough scientific evidence. Like no, you've been presented the evidence. So like it's this continuous goalpost shift of the criteria to the point like, look, you're not being genuine here. We have met your criteria, and they're just not willing to accept it. And those people are like, well, to hell with you.
Well, Darth, people cannot help what they are convinced of. So you and I can see the same evidences but both be convinced of different things. And I don't think a person chooses what they're convinced of.
Well, they can choose what that criteria is. Like, what will convince me?
Well,
Okay, so
Rex, you were saying earlier how you felt like the Phelps should be punished, but you have to believe that a lot of these atheists nowadays, because I'll tell you, before Google bought up YouTube, before partnerships and money was being handed out and shit like that, and it became a business, atheists were a lot more decent back then when they weren't being rewarded for negative behavior. Nowadays, I think that a lot of them do it not because they really have an issue with Christians or God, but they hate on people so they can get controversy, views, and get paid. And I think that that is fucking annoying. I do think people like Hitchens was given ample information, more than enough, and he had his ass stomped in quite a few debates, which they don't like to show, but I've got quite a few copies of it, and he just simply just kept on going. He knew that he was wrong. He knew that he lost. He kept on going, though.
well, you could lose a debate and be right, right?
Yeah, but you
No,
can't be losing that many debates and still claim you're right.
What is this thing that, because like I don't believe in your God. I don't really believe in a classical God. What piece of evidence is so strong that I am just willfully ignorant of it?
well, Rex, it's a little difficult with you. You're, first of all, one, you're not an atheist, unless you're fucking with us for some mental stimulation. You actually believe in a design. You actually believe that you are in some kind of realm of some kind of entity and all that. So we're obviously not pacing it towards you.
Right, but I don't believe that the reality that sustains my simulation was created by anything. I believe that it is entirely past, eternal, and uncreated. So, from the sense of an atheist, I don't believe there is a creator God. There is a creator of our reality, but they are only doing so to selectively choose those of us that are essentially well-behaved children.
Well, here's
Rex,
the thing.
Rex, you're sincerely saying that you don't believe because you don't feel like enough evidence is given. That there's a difference between someone who actually has been given information, has been told countless times. Hitchens traveled around the world. He met all the big people. He was given every fucking thing you'd possibly think of. And the only thing he'd be left with is these emotional arguments about, I don't believe in God because he's a mean ass. I mean, come on. That's what Darth, I think, is trying to say.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the arguments can be emotional, but I don't think they're all emotional. I just I don't know. I don't see a lot of evidence for a creator God. However, I don't know. Nothing
I
convincing.
haven't heard one, not one, in all the time I was a non-believer and watching atheists, I have never heard one of them present a scientific reason why an intelligent designer can't be compatible with the universe. Not one scientific argument. It's always, oh, God endorses rape and genocide, slavery. He's so mean. Where was he whenever I wanted my little Christmas present? It's always that shit. There's never any real science to back it up. And I think that's one of the reasons why they hold on to the whole I came from a monkey shit so much. It's the only thing that they really got.
The part of me that's an asshole wants to beat you down with even really more terrible where's God examples, but I'm not going to do that. I guess the burden of proof. First off, there is nothing contradictory about a creator God, an intelligent designer in the universe. There is no contradiction there. There's just not evidence for it.
no evidence for it. I mean, here's the thing. Let's get back to that argument I was making from transcendental argument from God. Even I want to talk about Phil Tucker again. So he keeps making this possible worlds, but even in his possible worlds, you can't get away from God. So in any possible world where you start making claims of logic, you're gonna get to God. So unless you're willing to abandon all logic, there's no way in any possible world to get away from God.
I disagree with your premise, Darth. How can that have logic without God? If logic is descriptive of nature, meaning that it's not prescriptive, it's not prescribing how things are. It's describing. It's not making things a certain way. It is describing how things are.
No,
So
the part that is prescriptive is the order. So logic presupposes order, and the order is prescriptive.
But if the universe is just by its nature ordered, then I don't understand why you would. I just don't see how logic gets you to God. Walk me through it.
Well, let me try this on you, Rex, and see what Darth thinks of this as well. Do you believe that the universe has logic and rationality to it?
Yes, the laws of logic seem to hold at all times. Yes.
All right, can you give me an example of something that isn't alive or doesn't have a mind, a non-living thing that can actually prescribe logic and rationality?
The universe.
To say what?
The universe. It's a feature of the universe. So the universe is not alive and does not have a mind and maintains the laws of logic.
How do you know that?
I have no examples of it not doing so, but I cannot be certain. But I can't be certain of anything except that I have qualia.
Rex, you already see that's the problem. I mean, if you were an actual atheist, or I mean, there'd be something here, but you already said that you believe in a goddess who's created order and a system where it's able to observe what's going on with humanity and all this. Everything that you bring up is technological patterns, rationality, logic, simulations. I mean, my goodness, man, for you not to be able to see that there's some kind of living system going on here, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, you practically concede to it over and over every time you talk about it.
I am perfectly fine with things being designed intelligently. I wouldn't even have a problem if the universe were. I just don't think that it is.
Are
So-
you a part of the simulation, or are you something abstract from it?
The simulation, I believe the simulation we're in certainly was created by a thing. But when I'm talking about the universe, for the sake of this argument, I'm talking about ultimate universe, which, from your point of view, assuming you don't accept what I believe, you would say it is this universe. But when I am talking or doing my arguing from a logical standpoint, I'm talking about base reality. So I assume that if I were to live in base reality, that it is not created, it is past eternal, and that if I were to be born there, I suppose that my God would be relevant because I wouldn't be part of the simulation. I would just be innately part of the universe. So I would not be part of a simulation at that point. So simulations are created, but reality itself is not created.
basically, his position becomes unfalsifiable because we have no access to the base reality.
Well, all positions are unfalsifiable when it comes to the creation of the universe because we have no access to the creation of the universe.
Well, we can say there was a created universe, but we have no access point to prior to the creation of the universe. I agree with that.
Right. So none of us can go beyond speculation or our opinions. We can appeal to authorities like gods and such, and we can believe that to be true, and it may in fact be true, but we cannot demonstrate that to anyone else.
But I think the way we demonstrate that is, it is a precept argument. I say the TAG argument, transcendental argument from God, is a precept, but it's a precept that we're all going to have to make. If we're all going to say we're being logical, we're all going to have to make the precept of God.
Yes, you have to presuppose that logic holds. I agree, but I don't think you have to presuppose God. Tag's fault is that it supposes a mind. God has to have a mind in the Tag argument, and I don't think that's defensible. And I think that many philosophers have argued why.
Well, I would say that order only comes from a mind. You can't get order from like randomness.
Well, that's presupposing that the order of life didn't come from randomness. So because we only have examples, you cannot make an argument where priors are one. And that's why Bayesian arguments fail. You cannot argue when you only have a prior of one. I mean, you can argue, but you can't be convincing or you can't be certain.
I mean, it's not even fathomable. Sorry, I got a dry mouth. Been drinking Monster energy drink.
Let's try this. Do simulations require logic and rationality to exist?
Well, of course, absolutely. I mean, yes, the program has to also follow logical rules, or it would. I mean, I suppose you could have illogical simulations, but I don't know why you would do that.
And the only way these simulations could exist is if the entity itself is logical and rational. Because if it doesn't have the attribute of logic and rationality to it, or the mind to be able to put this together, then you got nothing. You got nothing but, as Darth would say, chaos and incoherency.
I agree with you. However, I don't think that I think the simulations are created, but I don't think that the creator of the simulation was created.
So
Well,
he
go
thinks
ahead.
he thinks the goddess is like a product of natural evolution in the base reality, correct?
Correct. Right. So from all sorts, you got to ignore when it comes to my spiritual beliefs. You got to ignore all the simulation, all of what's the science elements of my thought process. When it comes down to how I view base reality and you view regular reality, I am no different than an atheist, or how an atheist views regular reality. But when it comes to how I view like the nature of things, I am much different. But when it comes down to if I think of base reality and you think of this reality, then we are thinking, or an atheist thinking the same things.
Yeah, and the same counter to that is like even within your reality, if you're making if you're gonna say you're using logic and I'm using logic, we're still gonna have to make a presupposition of God even in your reality.
You have to defend that argument. You don't have to presuppose God. You have to presuppose that logic holds, and that can be any number of reasons.
Well, that's the thing. If logic holds, there must be an order, and we and how do you? I mean, how else would you get order? But if not from a mind,
From a past eternal universe with tense time states.
but that doesn't. But how? I mean, how would you do that? Because order it can only come from a mind. But I'm trying to grasp how would
No, order
random.
order can come from any number of things, which is why you could have things like a Boltzmann brain and all sorts of things. So order can appear out of absolute randomness, and not logically impossible or mathematically impossible for that to happen.
No, I mean, randomness can probably get you at best. What's the word I'm looking for? They have a word. The atheists have a word for it. It's uniformity. So, but uniformity is not order, and so you cannot base logic on uniformity. Just because something is uniform right now, it doesn't mean 5 seconds from now it will still be uniformed.
That's correct. But we ought to assume that it should be and continue until proven otherwise, because any other assertion would lead to an irrational world.
Yeah, but this again, we're just presupposing it's going to be uniform, but uniformity cannot grant you logic. It is only a false or a pretend version of logic, but it is not logic.
I just heard this argument from I don't normally argue it because it's just so boring to me. And I'm not saying I'm bored by this conversation. I'm actually fairly enjoying it. But the tag argument is just weak, man, because if logic is a feature of reality, then it doesn't matter. If it's just the way that reality is, then it
But
is not necessary for a God. If it is just that reality is logical.
Yeah, but the thing is, what is that reality? So like, reality is just like it's just catch-up all term for anything. Like the reality is reality. What is that reality? And I'm saying the source of that reality would be God.
You can make that assumption, but I don't have to. The source of that reality could simply be that reality is past eternal, and reality is just the sum of all of our experiences. And I recognize that it gets into the weeds, and this is where philosophers like to argue, but this is why I only have a modern philosophy, because it's boring and it kills my erection.
But that's the thing. If you can say like, but as soon as you start making like logical statements of reality, you're going to have to presuppose a mind.
No, I have to presuppose that logic holds, which you say requires a mind, and I say does not.
I would say yeah, because I mean, how else you're gonna get order? Order is intrinsic from a mind. Sure, you can get uniformity. I'll grant you uniformity, but you won't get order out of that.
So you're saying if I give you examples of order and disorder, that you'd be able to tell which one was produced by mind, correct?
Yeah, I'm saying you can only get order from a mind.
Great. So then you're saying if you could recognize order and thus that a mind did it if I show you things that are ordered and disordered, correct?
Yeah. But then I would
Great.
say, but there's the thing, I would say everything is done by mind. There's nothing in the universe that's not created by God.
Well, sort of a cop out thing, because I'm just going to show you beaver dams. I love that. I would show you beaver dams versus random log clogging up a river. And it's real hard to tell the difference. And one is the product of a mind, and one is the product of chaos. But if the whole universe is God's mind, well, then you sir win, and I can't defeat that argument. The tag argument wins again.
Yeah, this is the thing. That's because it is a precept argument, and I can't get around that it is a precept argument.
Right.
Yeah, but even with the log argument that you made, and this may come off weird because I'm tired and not quite as articulate when I'm tired, but whether beavers made the log, put logs together to close up a dam or something, or this happened, you still feel like there's some order to nature, and there is a reason why that log is laying across the water in the first place. There's still the order, whether it was done by the animal or not. And by the way, the trees were considered a form of life.
Right, but they're not a mind, and that's the argument. I agree with you. Order happened. The trees orderly grew. The currents orderly drug the debris there to clog up the dam, but a mind didn't do it. But if you're, I guess, if you want to take it turtles all the way down and say, well, a mind started everything, thus it created that order that made that random log pile, then I guess, sure.
Well, you would have to go with that, especially if you're going to claim you live in a simulation. You believe that the simulation was put together by logic and rationality. So obviously the consequences in nature as well as the order of it would be by the mind that created the simulation. Ain't no way around it.
I agree with you that there's no way around the simulation being created, but I believe that. But I don't believe that the reality that the simulation are. So we are a simulation inside of an actual reality. So we currently are now inside that simulation, and we have no access to actual reality. So from our point of view, we are in a real world, and for all intents and purposes, you should live your life as though this is a real world. Anything else would be ludicrous. So you should just assume that I am incorrect and live your life accordingly, and you'll be great. But I'm saying if I am right and we're in a simulation, if you ever make it out of the simulation, you're going to make it to reality that's nearly identical to this one. But the only difference is it's the simulation and no one created it.
The only difference, it sounds like, from base reality and the simulation is that one box is bigger than the other, and one just happens to be inside the other box. I mean, I don't see a real big difference. I mean, one has a fancy name and the other one sounds like it comes from a Matrix movie. What is the difference?
Functionally, from our point of view, there isn't any, and that's the design. It's designed to be identical to reality in every possible way, so that all of our experiences are as close to natural as they could be without being in the danger of being in reality.
And why is that? There's got to be some kind of point to that.
Sure, because it's an AI that runs the world. And so anyone who has access and benevolence on their heart could do irreparable damage to all of society, all of the simulations, all of real reality. And so only those with moral fortitude ought make it to base reality for the sake of everything.
What kind of damage can be done to a simulation? If I were to find out tomorrow I'm living in a fucking video game, what could I do to the video game that could be damaging if I'm nothing more than a somewhat sentient NPC?
I'm gonna have to draw you. I'm gonna have to draw you like a picture. I think we're lost. You can absolutely do no damage to the real world from inside the simulation. That's why we're here, so that we can learn all of the lessons in life without risking damaging reality or actually damaging ourselves.
So
If I
then
knew
why
that was
were you? Go ahead, Darth.
no, I was gonna say if I knew this was a simulation, I'd start acting more badly, start blowing stuff up.
Right. Still suffer the consequences for it, which is why I think that even if I am correct, which I obviously believe that I am, it is still wise to live your life as though I am not.
Well, why does the entity that's dealing with these simulations, why would it give a shit? If it knows that it created a fake reality for people, why would it care if Darth started chewing on shit?
Because it would just represent the moral outcomes, likely attributes he would have in reality, and thus his likelihood to be worthy of really living.
But he's only doing as the program was set up. I mean, if he were to find out, as you claim that you have about it, then what's the problem? It was meant to be created for him, right? So if he decides he wants to chew the fucking place up, then what's the problem?
I mean, it's like the problem as far as would it hurt anything? I guess there is no real problem. The problem would be to his potential future or lack thereof.
So there's nothing wrong with it. Just like somebody doesn't like what I did.
But what do you mean wrong? I mean, wrong in the sense that you could suffer punishment for it, or
Like
wrong in the sense of evil?
wrong in the sense like it did no real damage to like the actual base reality.
Yeah,
Correct.
why does Darth need to be punished though? Because this isn't actual reality he's in the first place. He's in a fucking video game. So why not? Why can't he do the Grand Theft Auto run over prostitutes on the sidewalk thing?
Well,
So or I guess it depends on his mind state. Are you saying that he is now a 100% certain he's in a simulation and he is living like it's a Grand Theft Auto game? Or are you saying that he thinks it might be a simulation and so he's like, "F it"? I guess what's his phenomenal state?
No, if he absolutely realizes, like yourself, who is almost what seems to be almost 100% convinced you're in a simulation, if it's not real, then I mean, why do we even pretend as though in a simulation the morals even mean shit? I mean, it's basically a fucking mouse in a maze. If the mouse decides to start gnawing on the side of the walls of it, who gives a shit,
I
right?
guess you could do that, but for the same reason that while you're in school and taking a test, why not just say F it and mark all the boxes, whatever the hell you want? Well, you can do that, but you're going to score very poorly on that test and your grades will reflect accordingly.
Well, why would I mean? Why does Darth need to give a shit about that? See, when we deal with schools, we're thinking that we're sending our kids to an actual place in reality that's supposed to educate them, and you're saying that it's all fake anyway. That there's actually something an actual reality outside of it. So chew away at the net, get your ass out of there. Why even bother with it anymore?
I guess I just don't understand the question because I see consequences for doing it. One, there's always potential you're wrong. So and again, I've said over and over again, you ought to live life as though I am incorrect and that we're not in a simulation. And also, if I am correct, that it is essentially a more powerful being who is in control of if our consciousness continues, who makes a determination based on our actions. And if it is telling us that it wants us to see us to make the best possible moral actions in any scenario, I guess we don't have
Why?
to do anything because
Why?
why does it want us to make morally correct actions?
Why does it put this illusion in front of you and then expect you to like react the way it would want you to do whenever it's in this form of reality? I mean, it's like if Darth was asleep and then I covered a box over his head and shit, just big enough for him to walk around in. I mean, why am I supposed to feel he's wrong if he decides to kick the fucking box?
I'm thinking you're at a point of tired that we're having a different conversation. I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess I could fall back on the same argument that most theists and Christians use that gods can do what they want. Yeah, creators of programs can do what they want, and I suppose since we have free will, you can do what you want. I, however, want to continue existing. I want to live a morally upstanding life, and I want to do it even more now that I am certain that I am being watched and that I am being judged for these actions, and that there's someone in the end who is going to say if I did right or wrong. So those things encourage me to act in a morally sufficient way, but nothing is forcing me to.
See, that's another weird thing too, though, Rex. You're saying that this thing wants you to act morally, but I mean, from my theistic point of view, I can say that from the beginning of time, since written history and stories could be put out there, my God has actually interacted with humanity and has made it abundantly clear to every area of the earth. I don't think that there's one person that could actually argue that they've never heard of Jesus. But your deity that you claim is so limited that you say that there's literally only a handful of people that you know that know of this. So if it's so important for people to be morality, why don't you have your Moses moment? Why don't you have your prophet moment or somebody that comes out and actually speaks of this?
I suppose it is not as necessary since the punishment is not, you don't get only one lifetime in my summation. So, and a part of the journey and part of the whole process is to see how creatures react and how we learn from situations. And I'm sorry, I'm also getting tired because I'm losing my train of thought mid sentence.
yeah, same here. I'm tired.
But you get what I'm saying? I mean, our concept of God is literally put up billboard signs since the beginning of time saying, "Don't fuck up, don't do something stupid. It's going to get me annoyed." But your deity only happens for like a few people. It doesn't seem like it's made it abundantly clear to humanity this moral system that seems to be so important. I mean, you said it literally created the simulation because it wants us to behave ourselves and act a certain way or they get deleted. Well, why isn't there more publicity around this? There needs to be some more shit put out there. You get what I'm saying? If I go to any country around the world, I say, Jesus says, yeah, yeah. I go around the world, I ask about yours. Huh? Who? What? You know what I mean?
I do get what you're saying, and I understand. But first, let me be pedantic because I like being pedantic. There are the Seminolese, and that's at least one tribe who've never heard of Jesus. You can't go there. No one's ever been there. There's a bunch of them, and they're on a little island anyway in India, I think somewhere. But that's not important. That's a moot argument. Yes, obviously Christianity has had its book around, but you're I don't you're if your God is advertising, he didn't spend money to advertise to me. So I don't know, brother. I definitely agree, though he advertised to a lot more people than my God has, because there are a lot more Christians and lots of people have an experience with the Christian God. And I'm not belittling that. But again, I also think that the stakes are much higher in Christianity because you get one life and you get one opportunity to repent. And if you miss that, you're boned. But I don't believe that's the case. I also believe that everyone consented to be here, and that's a huge difference in our personal belief. I think that we consented to be in this reality, and thus we at some point in base reality had the choice to be in this reality or not. And I don't
So
think that the Christian reality or the Christian theology gives you. It doesn't care if we gave consent to be here because God just gave us life, and take it or leave it. That's our choice.
See,
He doesn't
now
care.
that's interesting right there,
uh,
Rex. You're saying that you consented to the existence that you have. Were you told what was going to happen to you whenever you were young or some of the problems you were going to have? Were you told of this before it happened?
No, you consent to the type of reality you'll be in. Thus, you know the potential for the most extreme negatives and the most extreme positives. But you do not. I don't think anyone consents to. Hey, yeah, I think I'd like to be beaten with a brick to death when I'm 12. You know, something. I don't think anyone's consenting to that. But I think they know they're going into reality where that sort of awful thing could happen.
so like, wait, did we consent to be in base reality?
No, consciousness is emergent. You do not consent to be. That is just a feature of reality.
So you're saying, Rex, that there's some kind of choice here. Well, what
Just
if I tell you right now that I choose not to be a part of the simulation? I do not want to live in a fucking maze. I want to be in base reality right now. I want to be able to communicate and experience this entity, and I would like it to care enough to tell me what the fucking deal is. Is that possible? Do I get to choose, or am I stuck in the simulation so they can play with me like a fucking mouse?
no
It is a nurture
refunds.
simulation, not a game or toy, and you are free to end your own existence at any time. Although I'm not encouraging that.
So I have to actually end my existence, but you were able to be absorbed while you were still alive and you were able to return to your body. Why do I have to actually die in order to be able to see this? And this is questions I get asked by skeptics. So
No, I get it. You get to be on the attack for once. Not on the attack, but the questioner instead of being questioned. I get you're not being malicious. You're just asking questions that, if I continue to talk about this in an open forum, that people are going to ask me. I guess why does why do seemingly miraculous events only happen to certain people, whether it is by pure chance or providence? It does not matter. So it is just, I would say it's chance, but it could be providence that it happened to me. Um, I would say it happened to Moses because God chose him. So gods choose whom they choose and deny who they deny. And there's nothing we can do about that.
well, Rex, I used to believe, especially whenever I was a younger man and doing what I was doing, I really did believe that it wasn't happening very much. But the more, I mean, I started doing shows a long time ago. I've had so many people come in and claim to have experiences, so many views that, I mean, it even became overwhelming. So it's not as rare as you think. there's a lot of people who claim they have interactions, experiences, whether it be God or ghost or the supernatural. So at this point, I can't say that it's a rare occurrence.
Yeah, I think it's a feature of humanity. I think that we are prone to delusions. We also like answers, and maybe spiritual experiences are common. And I think you should weigh what it costs you to how much you are willing to believe in that. So let's say this deity of mine that I met said, "All right, you're going back to base reality, but when you get there, you got to murder babies, or maybe you got to only eat fetuses." I don't know, some ridiculous thing that would both make me a monster and make my life worse overall. Well, obviously, proportioning that belief is much different than what is seemingly required of me by my current belief. Even if I'm wrong, all that is required of me is I live a moral life. And so, such a thing is not a cumbersome or burdensome process. And it's something that likely people should be doing either way. Now, I suppose if Christianity is true, then this is coming at a great cost to myself. But if it is not, then I am simply living a moral life and there is no great cost to myself.
Yeah. Do you feel like the things that are happening? Well, it'd be hard to even ask this question because you said about the feelings and emotions thing. But do you think that that's important to the deity, that people be able to have emotions and feelings?
I would say that people being cognitively complete is likely important to her, since I was cognitively complete when I was in base reality. So, yes, I would say that it is important, but it is a feature of reality that the brain can become damaged and cognitive awareness can become limited and our capacities can become limited. And if we are in reality and such a thing happens, we know how to respond.
So you had feelings whenever you were in base reality. You were able to actually experience that.
Yes, but this is a very hard thing to explain because the only experience, the only feelings I can actually have are all negative, like anger and rage. And these experience, it's very limited. And like to actually feel lows, or I mean, I could tell you sometimes, but we're late in the story and you might get banned. So if you really want to hear those stories, I like to be more awake so I can censor myself.
You
But yeah.
felt negative feelings whenever you were in this?
No, I'm just saying in reality, like you and I speaking right now, us. I'm getting confused with my terminology. So I'm going to use the word reality just in this conversation right now. The only feelings that I have ever been able to feel personally are negative feelings, rage, anger, hatred, these sort of things. And even that's rare. And they're not things I can hold on to. I can feel them fleetingly. So remembering the positive experiences that I believe that I perceived in real reality was moving for me, but it is still a distant memory. I don't know. It's like remembering a color you've only seen once. It's really hard to explain.
All right, I gotta hop out. Getting real lit over here.
All right,
All right.
man. Your Red Bulls and good night.
Well,
Good
I
night.
gave people out there the opportunity to come in. See you later there, Darth. I expected a bigger turnout, but it's cool. I don't mind if I'm just talking to one person or just a couple or whatever.
I'm probably gonna have it here in a second. What happened to your? You had the guy who made his own like platform. What happened to that guy?
What do you mean?
I thought there was a. I don't remember who it was. Like I said, last time I came to your show was the first time. It's like TOOC or something like that. He was real. He was like the center screen, real talkative. I assume he's a Christian guy.
Oh, TTOR, you say?
Yeah, I remember just saying he made his own platform. I guess maybe he got banned or something. I don't know all the details.
No, TTOR still doing his videos and all that, and he's always welcome in. He's a good pal of mine, but he's been he's working two jobs now. He's working something, then he's also doing some video editing and like special effects for a church that he attends. So he doesn't have a lot of time.
Oh, okay, I saw him. He seemed like I don't know if he's a regular or not. And then there was another guy that came in. I also assume was a Christian. Some guy named John, maybe I don't remember. It's been a while. It was last weekend. I'm tired.
Yeah. I also got a buddy named John Gashilla that comes in there once in a while. He doesn't really like the whole Christian discussions, though. He's into Judaism. Well, lately he's been getting into Islam because apparently his wife is Islamic. That's interesting.
Islam's a pretty sweet deal if you're a dude. I mean, honestly, if Islam is true, like, and like sex is your thing, Islam's a pretty sweet religion.
That's fair enough.
All right, Brett. Well, I think I'm gonna head off here. You sound tired, and I certainly am tired. So it's been 9 hours. This is a good show.
All right, man. See you later.
All right. See you next Friday. Have a good one.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio. I hope you're all having a blessed day. If you would like to support God TV Radio, you can do a one-time donation through PayPal, or you can buy us a gift off of Amazon wish list, or you can buy one of my books. Afterlife Simulation is the newest installment of my novels and written works, or you could buy some of our music and art. Also, I sell merchandise such as t-shirts, mugs, towels, clothes, apparel, anything that your heart desires. God bless.